Chapter 1362. Yang Qing put the prayer beads on Lanlan's fat wrist and said with a warm smile, "Lanlan, Grandpa said this is for you. Grandpa went to play with a good friend and went to a faraway place. It might be a long time before he comes back. But little chubby girl, don't worry. With Daddy here, I guarantee that you will have delicious food and fun every day. Also, no one can bully my precious daughter." Lanlan was also very clever. She had probably understood the meaning of these words. She looked at Lin Ruoxi pitifully, then looked at Yang Qing and asked softly, "But Daddy, isn't Mother also Lanlan's mother?" Without waiting for Yang Qing to say anything, Lin Ruoxi suddenly raised her head, and there was a trace of determination in her cold eyes. "No, I'm not your mother. Your mother's name is 17. She is already dead. From now on, I will no longer have anything to do with you." After Lin Ruoxi finished speaking, she silently turned around and walked out the door. The woman's back was filled with loneliness and arrogance, but there was no sign of reluctance. Even her footsteps were light, as if there was nothing to care about at all. Yang Qing felt a sharp pain in his heart. The woman actually let go of everything so easily. While he was unwilling, he also felt that it was inconceivable. Lin Ruoxi clearly loved Lanlan so much. Even if she knew about Lanlan's background, how could she give up so easily? What made Yang Qing even more unwilling was that Lin Ruoxi's words clearly said that she wanted to give up this marriage that had lasted for 2 years and had gone through countless trials and tribulations. "Mom, help me hold Lanlan." Yang Qing handed his daughter to Guoshuahua. Guoshuahua was especially enthusiastic at this moment as she took her granddaughter. At this moment, in the eyes of her grandmother, the little chubby girl in front of her was extremely cute. She couldn't wait to rub her into her body and kiss her fiercely for 3 days and 3 nights. Her dream of holding her own grandchild had come true in such a pleasant surprise. As for which woman Lanlan was born to and what happened to that woman, Guoshuahua didn't care at all. She had been waiting for this moment for too long and was so excited that she couldn't stop crying. Yang Gongming and the others also focused their attention on Lanlan. After all, the sudden appearance of the 4th generation of the Yang family had really swept away the haze of Yang Qing and his wife on New Year's Eve. People often said that the most ruthless people were the imperial family. Although the Yang family couldn't be said to be like the ancient emperors, the aristocratic families also had these similar characteristics. Regardless of whether it was cold and cruel or unbearably vulgar, the rich and powerful valued the inheritance of a high-quality bloodline. Like the Yang family who had to change their bloodline, it could only be blamed that Marshal Yang Yi only had one son, Yang Gongming. It couldn't be helped. If he really had a biological child, it would be much better than a non-biological child. What's more, there was no lack of women around Yang Qing. The Yang family wouldn't care that Lin Ruoxi had the blood relationship with the Ning family. Even without this relationship, the Yang family would be more at ease with Lin Ruoxi. Therefore, for the elders of the Yang family, having a granddaughter, Lanlan, was much more beneficial than having a granddaughter-in-law who was too tough. Guoshuahua knew that Yang Qing was going to chase after Lin Ruoxi. After she took over Lanlan, she immediately advised, "Son, Ruoxi is in a fit of anger now and she has suffered a huge blow. Even if you go out now, she won't listen to you. Tonight is New Year's Eve, you can't possibly stay out the whole night, right?" "Mom, stop it. I don't believe that she would be so ruthless." Yang Qing didn't have the intention to give up. He turned around and ran out. Inside the house, Yang Pejuan snorted angrily, "Useless brat, you don't even want to eat the family's New Year's Eve dinner for a woman. She's not even the child's biological mother. She really doesn't know what's good for her. Just let her throw a tantrum." Yang Jiyu said unhappily, "Brother, you're too cold. Ruoxi has suffered enough. Which woman doesn't want a devoted man to accompany her? Moreover, she has been raising Lanlan as her biological daughter. How can she not be hurt?" Marrying into a wealthy family, she should have the awareness of marrying into a wealthy family. Otherwise, she wouldn't have gotten herself involved in the first place. Moreover, from the start, wasn't their marriage a contract? If it wasn't for the fact that she didn't have the awareness of being a wife, why would there be so many women coming out to mess things up? Don't think that your brother doesn't know anything, Yang Pejuan said in disdain. Yang Jiu let out an "oh" and smiled. I didn't expect you to know so much. It seems that a biological son is indeed a biological son. Although you seem to reject him on the surface, you've always been concerned about him. Now you're speaking up for your son. Yang Pejuan looked a little embarrassed. He hummed and didn't say anything. He had indeed done a lot of investigations. Yang Gongming coughed twice and gestured for his 2 children to stop. He called for Guxiuhua to carry Lanlan over and said with a smile, Lanlan, come on, continue eating. Let your parents deal with their own problems. Even the old and steady Yang Gongming sounded a little more gentle and loving when he called Lanlan's name. However, Lanlan didn't have a good appetite at this moment. The speed at which she chewed the drumstick also slowed down a lot. Guxiuhua looked distressed and said with a smile, Lanlan, tomorrow, go with Grandma to the orphanage to play with the children, okay? Go with Grandma to give them red packets? Only then did Lanlan become a little interested. She raised her head and nodded while chewing. At the same time, Yang Qing, who had rushed out of the courtyard, grabbed Lin Ruoshi's hand. The woman was about to get into the car, but she was pulled back and turned around. Let go. I don't want to see you again. Lin Ruoshi said coldly. Yang Qing shook his head. I don't believe it. How can a relationship of more than 2 years be broken just like that? A hint of mockery flashed in Lin Ruoshi's eyes. She suddenly sneered and said teasingly, Yang Qing, you seem to have forgotten something. Yang Qing narrowed his eyes. What is it? Have you forgotten the promise I made with you a year ago? Yang Qing's mind went blank. In an instant, his heart raced and his breathing quickened. A year promise? That was the condition he made when he withdrew money from the Swiss bank to help a woman through a difficult time. That's right. Lin Ruoshi chuckled and said, although there are still some days left, it's actually almost time. It's only half a month, so there's no point in arguing about it. I promised you that I wouldn't cause trouble for those women for a year, and I could tolerate you and try to accept them. But now that the time is up, my answer is that I can't accept it, and I've also returned the favor that I owed you for saving my company. You'd better not force me to stay by your side anymore, because as you can see, I really dare to kill people. Maybe one day when you're not careful, your woman will be sent to hell by me. Yang Qing had almost forgotten about it, but when Lin Ruoshi mentioned it, he realized that the time was indeed up. For a moment, his heart fell into an ice cellar. You're the young master of the Yang family, the underworld king Hades. You can't go back on your word, right? Are you still going to pester me? Lin Ruoshi looked at him mockingly and said with an annoyed tone, I've had enough of you. If it wasn't for the fact that I wanted to bring back the Lanlan I like, I would feel disgusted by entering this house. Now that I know that Lanlan is your biological daughter, I don't want it anymore. I want to return to my own life and not stay by your side and constantly be disgusted by your words. You're talking nonsense. You're not that kind of casual woman at all. Yang Qing said angrily. I know, you want to say that I've slept with you so many times, how can I just leave like that? Don't be silly, I'm also a normal woman, I also need a man. I admit that your ability in bed is amazing, but that can't keep me. That's just the toxicity of hormones acting up. Lin Ruoshi was almost speechless. Chapter 1363. Yang Qing wished he could plug his ears. Hearing these words, it was as if the past pictures had been mercilessly shattered, only to realize that they were all just an illusion. Lin Ruoshi seemed to want to stab him one last time as she said indifferently, there are only 2 things a woman wants from a man. One is feelings, and the other is money. I, Lin Ruashi, do not lack money, and your fickleness cannot satisfy my emotional needs, so I want to leave you. It's very simple. You should have been prepared for this day to come. After saying that, Lin Ruashi turned around with a calm expression and prepared to get into the car. However, Yang Qing walked forward with a gloomy face and kicked the car door fiercely. Bang! The tyrannical force vented the surging emotions in the male owner's heart. With a loud bang, the entire Audi was kicked into a pile of iron lump. After flipping a few times, it fell to the side and was completely scrapped. Yang Qing, what are you doing? Lin Ruashi gritted her teeth and turned around, glaring at the man. Humph! Yang Qing sneered and raised his head, looking at her coldly. Lin Ruashi, your arrogance, independence, and confidence now are all because of your current conditions, which are completely different from the past. You don't need to deal with enemies in the business world on all sides. You don't need to face your non-biological father who makes things difficult for you and persecutes you. You don't need to be afraid of those bugs who covet your body. You have enough money, enough power, enough connections, and your wings have hardened. I can tell you very clearly that if the current you also needs to socialize with hypocrites that you don't want to see, also need to worry about those underworld people playing dirty with you, also need to play games with those large financial groups, and also need to use connections to protect you, then you definitely wouldn't dare to reject me as your husband so decisively. Our marriage will change because of the conditions you have. This is the truth you told me. Yang Qing slapped his chest hard, his eyes red as he said loudly, Yes, I, Yang Qing, can summon wind and rain in the world. I have money and power. I can make a world's top 500 companies collapse in a day. I can also make a small country disappear in a day. As long as I want, I can do far more than people can imagine. My money, my power, and I can attract women. I have this ability, and others can't even be envious of me. However, all of this was fought for by me step by step. There is no opportunism at all. I exchanged it with my life since I was born. If I were someone who could only stay at home to take care of my sick parents, a few younger siblings to take care of, and a laborer who could only work at a construction site during the day, would you still stay married to me for 2 years just because you slept with me once? I think you probably didn't even look at me after you got married. You treated me like a bug under your feet and didn't spare me a glance, right? In fact, you did the same in the beginning. But you realized that I could gradually give you unimaginable help, so you started to think about the good in me. That's how you got to where you are today, right? There is no love without reason in this world, and there is no hate without reason. Let me tell you, I, Yang Qing, can't be the man you requested to accompany you from 9 to 5 in the company, call you Chairman Lin when you meet, massage your back and shoulders when you go home, and coax you to eat and sleep. I can't be around you all day long and treat you like the stars and the moon, as if you are the only woman in the world. I can't look at you for the rest of my life. I am me. Since I was young, I already knew that the weak are prey to the strong, and the strong have the right to lead. I am stronger than other men. This is the condition I have. I have so many women to take care of, and I can't bear to abandon any of them. I can't go back, and I can't go back. If you really like me and love me, then accept me and live with me. Your straightforward and great attitude changes faster than flipping a book. It will really make this fearless man in front of you feel pitiful and despicable. Do you know that? Lin Ruashi's eyes were glistening with tears. She gritted her teeth and said, You have your despicable feelings, but I don't want to live a lowly life. Lowly? So what? There is no absolute fairness in this world. I am strong, so I have a group of women. At least when they are by my side, they are willing. You don't care about my private life. You think that it doesn't matter who I am with. It was you who first said that you didn't care, and then you said that I am disgusting. Yes, I also know that I owe you, but don't you have any responsibility? How do you want me to dig my heart out for you to think that I am worthy of you? Lin Ruashi took a deep breath and said faintly, There is no point in saying all this. If other women want to be with you, then let them be. Our marriage contract ends just like that. I've already used you up, and I've also given myself to you. If you feel that it is not enough, I don't mind if you use force. But I don't want to be the young mistress of the Yang family anymore, and I don't want to be your wife. If you are a man who can let go, then don't stop me. It is not good for us to be together, but at least we can separate freely. Yang Qing let out a long sigh, took out the BMW's key from his pocket, and threw it to Lin Ruoshi. You can leave, but I don't like the women I have had to be enjoyed by others. You can say that I am a beast or a madman. I don't mind, but you better not have other men around you. Otherwise, I will kill everyone I see. With that, Yang Qing turned around and walked back into the courtyard without any intention of looking back. His back view was determined and lonely. Lin Ruoshi was stunned by the man's last warning. After a while, she silently held the car key in her hand, which was still warm, and turned around to walk into the BMW. She was going to the airport. There was no need to stay in Beijing anymore. She should return to Zhonghai. A few minutes later, the car drove onto the highway. Under the night sky, the road seemed particularly peaceful on New Year's Eve. There were almost no cars passing by at the same time. Lin Ruoshi stepped on the gas pedal to the minimum. The BMW was like a wild black beast, roaring and sprinting more than 200 kilometers. The car seemed to be venting the woman's uneasiness and pain at the moment. Gradually, the tears that had just dried up flowed down again. The tears soaked the sweater in front of her chest, and Lin Ruoshi's body slightly twitched because of the sobs. Suddenly, Lin Ruoshi seemed to feel a sharp pain in her head. With a moan, she touched her head with one hand and almost hit the fence with the other. Fortunately, she dodged in time and didn't cause a car accident. But even so, Lin Ruoshi still broke out in a cold sweat. For a moment, she couldn't help but sob and whisper to herself, "Hubby, I'm sorry. This is all I can do for you." In the dark night, the woman's voice was annihilated by the violent cold wind in the Yang family's dining room. Yang Qing, who had separated from Lin Ruoshi, had already returned to a faint smile when he walked into the room, as if nothing had affected him. When Yang Qing said that Lin Ruoshi had decided to divorce him, he also used a casual tone. Yang Qing's calmness and gentle smile made the Yang family feel particularly sad. This kind of pain in the heart was the most hurtful. But Yang Qing wasn't a weakling who needed sympathy, so no one persuaded him. Instead, they tried to say some happy things to let Yang Qing walk out of it as soon as possible. As for who was right and who was wrong, or whether they should try their best to redeem it, no one would be so insensible. When the Spring Festival Gala program began on TV, the Yang family sat together and watched TV, which was a rare sight. They looked like an ordinary family. However, the chubby little girl, who was held by Yang Qing, looked around and couldn't find her mother. There was still some regret on her face. The child didn't understand very deeply, but she could clearly feel that her father was very sad at the moment, so she didn't dare to ask where her father and mother went. She could only sit on Yang Qing's lap and watch TV. As she said, Hui Lin acted as if nothing had happened. She made a comeback in a stunning dance, and with a lively song with excellent singing, the gala entered a wave of climax. There was no doubt that Ulay Entertainment's public relations ability was proven, and Hui Lin's fan base was also proven. The news of Hui Lin's comeback from the Spring Festival Gala on the internet occupied the headlines of the major search rankings. Lan Lan seemed to be very surprised that her aunt could appear on TV. For a moment, she forgot the sadness of her mother's disappearance and jumped happily in front of the TV. Looking at the child's innocent smile, it added a rare touch of joy to this solemn New Year's Eve. That night, Guoshuhua and others asked more about Lanlan's birth mother, 17. They sighed about the sad and short life of a woman. Looking at Lanlan, who had fallen asleep, they cherished her even more. Yang Gongming was carefully considering whether to set up a memorial tablet for 17 and enter the Yang family's ancestral hall. However, Yang Qing didn't care too much about this because 17 would never care about this kind of thing. Although it was just a verbal divorce with Lin Ruoxi, Yang Qing was not in the mood to continue to stay in Yanjing. He planned to take Lanlan back to Zhonghai, but before that, he had to go to the research institute to find Jane. Otherwise, it wouldn't be good to leave Her Royal Highness who was working hard on her research. However, early in the morning, when Yang Qing was about to go out with Lanlan, he ran into Tang Wan in a red winter dress and ran to the Yang family with her daughter Tang Tang. Chapter 1364. Tang Wan also brought along a few servants of the Tang family. They used 2 commercial vehicles to deliver a large number of gift boxes wrapped in red paper. It seemed to be a New Year greeting. But thinking about it carefully, there was nothing wrong with this. Not to mention the secret relationship between Yang Qing and Tang Wan, just the relationship between Yuan Yi and Tang Tang on the surface made the Tang family and the Yang family allies. Although these gifts were precious, most of them were absolutely authentic, such as cordyceps, da hong pao, and even authentic Blue Mountain coffee produced at an altitude of more than 1,600 meters in the Blue Mountain range of Jamaica. It had to be said that Tang Wan had prepared very carefully. She had purchased almost all the gifts from all over the world. Of course, only people like Yang Qing who could recognize the goods could distinguish them. After the servants of the Tang family put down the gifts, they quietly left the courtyard, leaving only Tang Wan and her daughter in the living room. Yang Qing was not in a hurry to go out. He sat by the side with Lanlan in his arms. He rubbed his daughter's round belly as he listened to everyone's conversation. Yang Gongming seemed to like Tang Wan and her daughter. He asked Tang Tang some questions lovingly and told her to learn more from her mother. He also gave Tang Tang a big red packet. Tang Tang, the carefree girl, had become more and more sensible since she went to university. She was very clear about the status of the old man in front of her. When she took the red packet, her hands trembled a little. It was unknown whether she was happy or nervous. For her, this was half a future-in-law. Yuan Yi had not seen Tang Tang for a few days. He held his girlfriend's hand in embarrassment and went somewhere to fool around. This made Yuan Hui and his wife feel quite helpless. After the servants served tea, Yang Gongming asked about the Tang family's situation this year. He expressed his regret for the passing of old Master Tang. Now that Tang Zhichen was gone, the senior members of the Tang family had no authority. So the family was actually controlled by Tang Huang and Tang Wan. One of them was in charge of the north, while the other was in charge of the south. Tang Wan came to visit the Yang family on the first day of the new year. She even brought 2 cars of expensive gifts. This was already a clear indication of the Tang family's position. The Yang family naturally could not disappoint the Tang family. After listening to some of what Tang Wan said, Yang Gongming fell into deep thought for a while. Suddenly, Yang Gongming patted the armrest of the chair and said, "Tang Wan, I heard that you have a brother who is in charge of the business in Russia?" Tang Wan smiled and said, "Yes, his name is Tang Ju. He will be in Beijing for the new year and will return to Moscow after the first lunar month." Hee, not bad. Young people should go abroad. I heard that the military is going to import a batch of arms from Russia in the first half of this year, including more than 40 of the latest 4th-generation fighter jet. In fact, the Tang family's business in Russia is developing well. The people in the military are good at fighting, but they are not as good as you in business. Hearing Yang Gongming say these words slowly, Tang Wan's pair of watery eyes were already full of splendor. Her heart was beating fast. She gently bit her lip and restrained herself from moving her hands that were holding her thighs. She knew very well that this was the real, big red packet that Yang Gongming gave to the Tang family. Although it seemed to be a batch of weapons imported for the country, as long as the Tang family successfully negotiated this business deal, the Tang family would naturally open up this channel in the future. The Tang family's development in Russia was mainly in Russia's relatively backward light industry and part of the labor force. If they could really make contact with the Russian military this time, then their position in Russia would be completely different in the future. All kinds of profits. The more Tang Wan thought about it, the more excited she became. She made up her mind to send more business elites from the older generation to accompany Tang Ju back to Russia this time. She must definitely do it well. Old Yang, don't say that. Our Tang family has been doing business for generations. If we can't even negotiate business, then we would have long fallen. Of course, if there is a chance to contribute to the country, we will be very happy to help. Tang Wan quickly set her mind to the height of serving the country, not selfishness. Yang Gongming was quite satisfied. He turned his head and said to Yang Pejuan, "Later, those little things from the military are coming to see me at home, right? Ask them to bring the person in charge here. Tell him that I want to see him." A few little things from the military? Only Yang Gongming dared to say this. After all, when he promoted those generals back then, those people were indeed little things. "Yes, father." Yang Pejuan nodded. Although Yang Pejuan had retired as the commander of the military region, he still had his military rank. Moreover, with the background of the Yang family, it was only a matter of time whether he wanted to become an officer or not. After hiding for 2 years, he could go up at any time. Therefore, Yang Pejuan naturally had the confidence to go to the military and say a few words at any time. Tang Wan listened by the side. She was basically certain that this matter was set in stone. An old man like Yang Gongming wouldn't be so foolish as to make promises that he couldn't fulfill. Moreover, no matter what, it was bought for the country. It wasn't from their own pocket. With the Tang family coming to talk business, they might even save money. The military had no reason to reject the old chief. Of course, a madman that no one dared to offend had appeared in the Yang family recently. Tang Wan didn't expect to get such a great deal when she came to the Yang family for New Year's greetings. Instantly, her face was flushed, and she looked especially charming. It was impossible to tell that she was a middle-aged woman over 40 years old. Her fair skin was rosy, and she looked exactly like a young woman in her 20s. This made Guoshuahua, who had been listening by the side, feel a little envious. She secretly wondered if her son was biased. Why couldn't she recover her beauty to that degree? But after thinking about it carefully, she realized that she was more than 10 years older than Tang Wan, so she got over it. After they finished talking about the serious matters, Yang Gongming asked Yang Qing to entertain them. Then, he went to meet other guests who came to pay their New Year's greetings. Only then did Tang Wan stand up and walk to Yang Qing and his daughter. She reached out to hug Lanlan. Lanlan had already recognized Tang Wan. She obediently jumped into Tang Wan's arms. Her chubby cheeks shamelessly rubbed against Tang Wan's towering breasts. She looked satisfied. "Little rascal, you only know how to take advantage of me. Where's your mother?" Tang Wan had wanted to ask this question for a long time. But instead of asking the man, she asked the child. Lanlan pouted. Mom left angrily. She disappeared. Tang Wan was slightly stunned. Then, she looked at Yang Qing with a puzzled look. Yang Qing revealed a bitter and helpless smile. He briefly told her what happened last night. Of course, he didn't repeat the ugly words that were said during the quarrel. But with Tang Wan's intelligence, she quickly understood the context of the matter. She could also understand the seriousness of this matter. So, the Empress must have gone back to Zhonghai. Tang Wan said. Yang Qing frowned. How can you be so sure? Of course she has to go back to Zhonghai. Firstly, she has nothing to do with this sad place. Secondly, Yulei is going to implement an important reform in the first half of this year. Tang Wan paused and looked at Yang Qing in surprise. Why? Don't tell me that you don't know what Chairman Lin has been doing recently. Yang Qing was really confused. He spread his hands and said, I don't usually ask her about her work. Isn't she helping Hui Lin to make a comeback recently? Tang Wan had a knowing look on her face. She smiled and said, No wonder. You just came back not long ago. Hui Lin's comeback and the release of Yulei Entertainment's movie are just a part of it. Lin Ruoshi actually had a backup plan from the beginning when she resigned from the CEO position. When she resigned, she reduced her shares to 51%. In fact, it was to strengthen the cohesion of the other shareholders and prepare for her next step in setting up Yulei Group. Yulei Group? Yang Qing's face stiffened. This woman was really going to play a big game. That's right. Because Lin Ruoshi has acquired too many companies in different industries. She knows that if she continues to do so, she won't have enough energy. Therefore, she established Yulei Group and became the CEO and chairman of the group. The board of directors and CEO of the major branches will manage it. It means that the former Yulei International will become one of the companies. In this way, not only can she continue to hold the power of life and death, but she can also buy and sell those companies that may not be running well. She can also manage these unfamiliar areas more easily than before. General Lin is very thoughtful. TSK, it seems that the Empress is actually very ambitious. Chapter 1365. Yang Qing was speechless. No wonder Lin Ruoshi didn't hesitate to hand Yulei over to Xue Mingyi to manage. It turned out that Xue Mingyi had to continue working for her. This woman's ambition was indeed a ball of flame that was hard to extinguish. Her goal was probably far more than this. He really didn't know what she was pursuing. How do you know so clearly? Yang Qing asked sourly. He, the person beside her, didn't even understand. Although he didn't know if it was true in the future. Tang Wan charmingly rolled her eyes at him. If Yulei Group is established, it will be one of my Maple Group's biggest competitors in the south. How can I not pay attention to it? Yang Qing rubbed his head. He was really getting slower and slower. Could it be that his IQ had dropped because he couldn't use his cultivation? Suddenly, Tang Wan paced back and forth and said, "After hearing what you said, I feel that yesterday's incident was a little strange." What do you mean? Yang Qing was puzzled. I don't think Lin Ruoshi is the kind of woman. Because of feelings and jealousy, she would lose her mind and kill Hui Lin. Moreover, if she wanted to kill someone, she should have come to kill me. Tang Wan said seriously. Yang Qing smiled bitterly. You're still joking at a time like this. Tang Wan glared at him. Seeing your bitter and vengeful look, I want you to laugh, but you don't know how to appreciate my kindness. Yang Qing raised his hand in surrender. If you're joking, then change to something else. I don't want any of you to get hurt, or else it would be my failure. Tang Wan looked at the man affectionately and chuckled. Actually, I want to say that before you came back, Ruoshi seemed to have something on her mind, but she didn't say anything when I asked her. But I always felt that she had something on her mind. If she doesn't say anything, doesn't that mean she doesn't know anything? Yang Qing said helplessly. I'm just mentioning it. How would I know what's in her heart? If you don't want to hear it, I can't wait to say it. One less love rival, Tang Wan teased. Yang Qing knew that this woman was joking. He opened his palm and slapped Tang Wan's plump buttock. The plump buttocks that were covered by the red coat trembled seductively, causing Tang Wan's face to be filled with embarrassment. Stop talking nonsense. I might as well take my daughter back to Zhonghai and ask her myself. Yang Qing said as he carried Lan Lan over. Tang Wan took a step away to avoid being teased like this again. If the servants of the Yang family saw this, it would be embarrassing. To be honest, Lan Lan is your biological daughter. I think this news should be a bigger blow to Lin Ruoshi, but from the looks of it, she didn't fight with you for the ownership of Lan Lan. It seems that she values you more. Tang Wan said. Yang Qing's eyes lit up. Indeed, Lin Ruoshi seemed to be in pain and excitement about Lan Lan's true identity, but she didn't argue with him. Instead, she couldn't wait to leave. Yang Qing wasn't stupid either. He secretly pondered, could it be that Lin Ruoshi was really trying to find a way to leave him? Could it be that this woman had some unspeakable difficulties? But what difficulties could she have to make her leave him? This was really puzzling. Although this was all speculation, Yang Qing hoped that it was true, and that the woman really didn't take the relationship between them seriously. Lan Lan is so pitiful, but God finally opened his eyes and let her reunite with you and your daughter. Tang Wan touched the chubby little girl's face pitifully. Are you going to take Lan Lan to see her mother's grave or something? It should be abroad. Yang Qing looked a little sad and shook his head. My uncle said that she was cremated and then buried at sea. She didn't want to leave any trace of herself in this world, which is very in line with her character. Tang Wan sighed. It's a pity that I didn't have the chance to meet her. She must be a charming woman. Yang Qing smiled and said, I'm going back to Zhonghai to ask Ruoshi clearly. Besides, I can't not accompany them during the new year. If you are done with your business in Beijing, go back to Zhonghai. Maybe my Lan Lan will need you to be her nanny. Why me? Don't you have Min Wan? Tang Wan pretended to be angry. Well, it's because you've given birth to a child and have experience in taking care of a child. Yang Qin smirked and touched Tang Wan's red face before carrying her out of the door. When he brought Lan Lan to the institute, Jane had already gotten up early and was busy all morning. When she saw Yang Qing coming in with a pink little girl, she immediately knew who it was. Lanlan's big eyes stared at Jane's soft amber hair without blinking, as if she was very interested. Dear Yang Qing, is this your adopted daughter? Jane reached out and wanted to hug. Lan Lan had long been used to the situation where everyone liked to hug her. Seeing that it was a very beautiful big sister with blonde hair and blue eyes, she was naturally very happy. Jumping into Jane's arms, Lan Lan immediately stretched out her chubby little hand and grabbed a handful of beautiful hair. She looked at it curiously, and couldn't wait to put it in her mouth to see if it was sweet. Yang Qing was somewhat helpless towards this little fat girl who was not afraid of strangers. If it wasn't for his fierce fighting ability, he was really worried that she would be abducted. She's not adopted, she's biological. Yang Qin didn't want to hide anything from Jane. His woman should have the right to know what happened. After hearing so many things happen yesterday, Jane was stunned for a while and wondered, Miss Lin doesn't seem like such a woman. Is there any other hidden story? It was the second time that Yang Qing heard this from a woman. Women always knew women better, so he had a few more speculations in his heart. However, Jane focused more attention on Lan Lan. Looking at the cute little fat girl, Jane kissed her face a few times. I didn't expect that 17 would leave a child for you. If only I could also give birth to such a cute little girl. When she left, she must have been very happy. Yang Qing didn't dare to think about what 17 was like when she left, or else the pain in his heart would make him feel like dying. Did you get any results from the analysis? Although I know this is a little difficult for you, I was really desperate. Yang Qing smiled bitterly. Jane said with a little bitterness, Yesterday was your Hua Xia's New Year's Eve, but you left me here alone to do the experiment. You don't know how to spend some time with me. Well, I'm not in the mood for New Year's. I'll go back to Zhonghai in the afternoon. Why don't you go to Zhonghai and stay for a while? Yang Qing also knew that he didn't have enough time to accompany his women. Although he had to ask Lin Ruoshi as soon as possible and deal with it, he couldn't be too mean to his other lovers. Jane's beautiful blue eyes showed a hint of successful plan. After returning Lan Lan to Yang Qing, she smiled and said, Great, you said it. There was no specific deadline for a while. Maybe I should consider buying a house of my own in Zhonghai. Looking at the girl jumping around to look for some information, Yang Qing didn't know what to say. Not long after, Jane took out a stack of documents and placed it in front of Yang Qing. These are the analysis of your physical test data. You can take a look yourself. I don't understand it. Teacher Jane, please explain it. Yang Qing said. In general, there is bad news and good news. Which one do you want to hear first? Good news? There's still good news? Then let's talk about this first. Yang Qing said in surprise. Jane nodded seriously. The good news is that your physical fitness is at least 3 times stronger than the last time you were tested. This is different from the previous physical fitness, because the greater your growth base, the smaller the probability of becoming stronger. Your body can already be described as abnormal, but I didn't expect it to increase by at least 3 times. I'm now wondering if your body is the same as Clark. Who is Clark? Superman in the movie, Clark Kent. Jane blinked. The corner of Yang Cheng's mouth twitched. He knew that this was just a joke. What about the bad news? The bad news is actually half a piece of good news. I didn't understand it before, but now that I've started cultivating, I can analyze some data and tell that there's an unimaginably powerful force in your dantian. It's a pity that these two forces repel each other and are currently in a delicate state of balance. In other words, you are stronger than before, but unfortunately, your own strength is not enough to control the other force in your body, so you are restrained. Chapter 1366. Yang Qing rubbed his forehead in distress and let out a deep sigh. It's about the same as what I thought. It's been verified. But the problem is, what should I do? Jane smiled. As far as I know, using traditional scientific methods shouldn't be effective. But have you forgotten that you're not the only one with true yuan? What do you mean? Yang Qing was stunned. It's just a hypothesis. Jane supported her chin with one hand and said, I'm thinking, is it possible to use external forces to help you conquer or even devour that repulsive force? You can only achieve a balance now, but what if you add in other forces to help you? Haven't Qiang Wei and Kai Ning entered the soul-forming stage? Even if they're far from you, they should have a way to affect the true yuan in your body. Once the balance is broken, you'll have a chance to win. Yang Qing was overjoyed. It was indeed possible, but he shook his head and frowned. No, it's too dangerous. You don't know, this chaos is too evil and vicious. If there's no perfect plan, Qiang Wei and Ning Er will be harmed if anything goes wrong. So I can't rush it. Don't I have to go to Zhonghai? Isn't Jiqing very good at cultivation? I plan to get some useful information and find a safe way, Jane said. Yang Qing couldn't think of a better way at the moment. Maybe Xiao Qiqing could really help him. He didn't want too many women to know, but he had no choice but to agree to it. But he made up his mind that unless he thought it was foolproof, he wouldn't drag the women down with him. After discussing with Jane, Yang Qing made a trip to the Kai family. Although Kai Ning and Choi Yun weren't around, as a son-in-law, Yang Qing still had to put on a show and send some gift. Moreover, Kai Yunqing had helped a lot and was always on the side of the Yang family. Since Kai Yunqing lied to Jiang Shan that both of his daughters were out on missions, Jiang Shan couldn't do anything. When she saw Yang Qing, she asked Yang Qing to persuade Kai Yunqing not to let her daughters go out so often. Yang Qing could only agree on the surface, but he was a little embarrassed. In fact, it was him who arranged for her daughters to go overseas. Originally, Choi Yun was in Zhonghai. But after quitting her job, she was bored and went to the Mediterranean to accompany her sister and focus on cultivation. After being dragged by Jiang Shan for a long time, Yang Chen finally managed to escape. He brought Lanlan back to Zhonghai by plane. Lanlan was a little disappointed that she couldn't fly in the sky and asked Yang Qing why he didn't fly around with her as before. Yang Qing smiled helplessly. He didn't think it was slow to take a plane, but he couldn't use the law of space just to hurry. This kind of thing that broke the covenant, he didn't have the cultivation to use now. On the first day of the new year, Zhonghai was still in a festive atmosphere. Although the temperature was low, it was a sunny day, which eased the pressure of people visiting relatives and friends. This was the first Chinese New Year since Old Li and his wife moved into the new house. Now they had a house, a ticket, and their daughter had a promising future. Although their son-in-law was not very pure, he could buy $1,000,000 car. The old couple was full of confidence. They hoped to show off in front of some relatives who looked down on them in the past. Therefore, Old Li and his wife made an agreement with their relatives in the suburbs of Zhonghai very early on that they would go back to their hometown on the first day of the new year and live for 2 days to reminisce and see some old people. Li Jingjing originally wanted to take advantage of these leisurely days of the new year to practice, and then get together with Xiao Qiqing, Anxin, and other girls. But she still had to satisfy her parents' little wish, so she agreed to drive them back to their hometown. The family of 3 carried a variety of gifts, talked and laughed as they went downstairs and walked to the parking lot. Looking at the brand new fiery red Mercedes-Benz, Mother Li said happily, "I didn't expect that one day our family would be able to sit in a Mercedes-Benz. Our Jingjing is promising." "What do you mean Jingjing is promising?" "That's little Yang's ability." Old Li smiled and put the gift boxes into the trunk of the car. "What do you know? A woman's promising is to find a good man. If our Jingjing is not attractive, how can she catch a good son-in-law?" Hee, that's true, but it's also fate. There are many good-looking girls on the street. How could our Jingjing meet one? It's fate. Li Jingjing's face was flushed red by her parents' words. Although what they said was indeed the truth, it was still too explicit. After the family put the things away, Old Li and his wife sat in the back seat, and Li Jingjing drove out of the neighborhood. But just as she drove on the main road, a large black Ford SUV suddenly appeared in front of her, standing in the middle of the road, blocking the way. Li Jingjing frowned slightly. After stopping the car, she pressed the horn and signaled to move to the side, but the Ford didn't move at all. Suddenly, 4 burly men holding steel bars in their hands, dressed in black coats, walked out of the car. They were all wearing sunglasses and looked fierce. Li Jingjing thought it was bad, and quickly turned around and shouted at Old Li and his wife, "Dad, get out of the car." But the big men didn't give the panicked Old Li and his wife time to get out of the car and had already rushed to the side of the car. After the leading man in black grinned, the steel bar in his hand had already smashed on the brand new Mercedes-Benz. Bang! With a heavy sound, the front cover of the car was dented, and a large piece of the red paint was scraped off. Li Jingjing in the car was pale, and her beautiful face lost its color. Old Li and his wife were scared, and their faces were livid. Immediately afterward, several other big men also waved the steel bars in their hands and smashed them on the roof, front cover, back cover, door, and other parts of the car. The sound of bang 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 was endless, and it almost shattered people's eardrums. At a speed visible to the naked eye, the car began to be dented, twisted, and deformed. A good new car turned into a pile of scrap iron in the blink of an eye. When the front cover of the car was lifted, the engine was also destroyed. Sparks burst directly, and the engine stalled. It was scrap. Li Jingjing didn't know when her eyes turned red. Tears welled up in her eyes, and her heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. She didn't feel distressed because of the money. This was a gift from Yang Qing. She wanted to cherish it, but it had only been 2 days, and it was smashed by a group of barbaric men like this. A mixture of regret, grievance, and anger made her delicate body tremble. The car window had already been shattered by the earthquake, and the car was full of glass debris. Even Old Li and his wife's hands and faces had been cut. Old Li and his wife had been submissive for too many days in their lives. Although they were full of doubts and anger, they didn't dare to make a sound. They hugged each other, for fear of being dragged out and beaten. Li Jingjing was distressed and pushed the twisted door open. The woman's strength was no longer the same as before because she had practiced internal force. "Who are you? Why did you smash our car?" Li Jingjing almost screamed as she asked. The leader of the black-clothed man sneered, and with a steel bar on his shoulder, he jokingly said, "Little girl, if you want to blame someone, blame yourself for hooking up with a man you shouldn't hook up with, and provoking a woman you shouldn't provoke. Our Lady said, if you are involved with Bureau Chief Meng again, next time, let us brothers, not smash your car, but, do you?" Li Jingjing's mind suddenly remembered that she met Meng Zhixin's mother after work that day, the enchanting Lady Zhang Ling. She seemed to understand something. In anger, she looked back at Old Li and his wife in the car, and saw that there was blood on her parents' faces and hands from the broken glass. A feeling of humiliation made her clench her fists, and her eyes were sparkling. She said resolutely, "You guys are too much. If you have something to do, come at me. What's the big deal about hurting my parents?" "Ha ha. Little girl, you have guts. I have smashed a lot of cars over the years. It's rare to see a little girl like you who has the guts to challenge me. Unfortunately, it's useless even if you shout. Today, the task I took is to smash the car. Next time I want to do you, I will listen to you shout again." The man smiled evilly, and the other 3 followers also grinned, revealing evil smiles. Li Jingjing's face was red, and she hurriedly took out her phone from her coat pocket and called the police. "Yo, you still want to call the police? Little girl, if we were afraid of you calling the police, why would we come to smash the car in broad daylight? Is your brain filled with water?" The big man sneered, turned back to call his brothers, and slowly walked back to the Ford. Chapter 1367. Although Li Jingjing had been training for a period of time, and if she forced herself to fight, even if she didn't have any moves, she might still be able to beat these strong men. However, this woman had been a good girl for more than 20 years, and she never thought of using violence to solve violence. Therefore, despite the ridicule of this group of people, Li Jingjing still called the police. As soon as the call was connected, Li Jingjing quickly explained the situation. The police asked for the license plate of the other party's car, and Li Jingjing told them the truth. Then, the police asked Li Jingjing's family to wait at the door, and they would send someone over immediately. Although the Ford had already driven away, Li Jingjing could do nothing about it. She could only wait patiently for the police to deal with it and collect evidence. After the phone call, Li Jingjing quickly rushed to the side of the car, opened the back door, and let Old Li and his wife out. "Dad, Mom, are you okay?" Li Jingjing looked ashamed. After all, she was the one who provoked this group of bandits. She really couldn't figure out what this Director Meng's family was doing. Why would they send such people over? Old Li and his wife were so scared that their faces were still green, indicating that they were fine. Wiping the blood on his face caused by the glass shards, Old Li gasped and said, "Jingjing, what the hell are those people doing? Who did you provoke outside?" Li Jingjing shook her head. "I don't know either. Let's wait for the police to come and see how they investigate." She didn't want her parents to know that this matter involved the leaders of the Education Bureau, lest they would be more worried. "Sigh, this is only the first day of the new year, and we've already encountered this kind of thing. Husband, call back home and say that something urgent happened, we can't go back, will that work? Will they think that we were bragging before?" Motherly said unhappily. "You're still talking about this at a time like this? The 3 of us almost lost our lives just now." Old Li blew his beard and glared angrily. Motherly broke out in a cold sweat again, and quickly ran upstairs to make a phone call. After his wife left, Old Li whispered to Li Jingjing, "Daughter, tell Dad, does this have anything to do with Little Yang? Could it be that the woman in his family sent them?" "Dad, what are you thinking about? Sister Ruashi isn't that kind of person. This has nothing to do with Yang Qing," Li Jingjing immediately rejected. "Don't worry, I'll take care of it." "How are you going to deal with it? Aren't you just a small cadre in the Education Bureau? How could you have the face to care about such things? Don't think that I don't know anything. You, hurry up and call Little Yang and let him host it." "I'm only on Xin," Old Li said seriously. "Yang Qing is in Beijing. It's the first day of the new year, so he must be very busy. But they can't just ignore our family's affairs, can they? The car has already been smashed. Next time it will be smashing people," Old Li said loudly. Li Jingjing bit her lips. She wanted to tell Yang Qing about her grievances, but she was afraid that Yang Qing might misunderstand her relationship with Meng Zhixin. Furthermore, Yang Qing had just given her a Mercedes-Benz, and it was smashed within 2 days. She felt embarrassed to meet him. Seeing his daughter's struggle, Oldly persuaded, I know that you're stubborn, and you don't like to trouble little Yang. But sometimes, girls shouldn't be too concerned about face. The more you don't say anything, the more angry little Yang will be when he finds out. Because you don't trust him enough, it's doubting him. Believe me, I've been with him for more than half a year, I know his character. He's not that kind of man, I know that very well. Li Jingjing nodded. After thinking about what to say, she called Yang Qing. However, she soon realized that the call could not be connected. Li Jingjing was slightly disappointed and said, Yang Qing turned off his phone. Maybe something happened. Old Li showed a trace of worry. Then we'll call later, wait for the police to come. The father and daughter of the Li family naturally didn't expect that Yang Qing had just boarded the plane, and before takeoff, he had turned off his phone in a very well-behaved manner. At this time, thousands of meters in the air, sitting side by side with the chubby little girl in the first-class cabin, the father and daughter began to sleep soundly. A beautiful first-class stewardess quietly took out her camera at this time and took photos of Lan Lan, just because the chubby little girl's sleeping appearance was too pleasing. However, after Yang Qing noticed this, he was unhappy. He reached out to the stewardess who was taking photos, as if asking for something. The stewardess smiled awkwardly. I'm sorry, sir, did I disturb you? What do you need? What else can it be? Of course, it's money. How can I take photos of my daughter for free? I have to pay to see orangutans and elephants in the zoo to take photos. My daughter is a living beauty, Yang Qing said seriously. The stewardess felt like she had seen a ghost, and secretly cursed, there's actually such a scoundrel sitting in the first-class cabin? As a father, he should be thankful that he has such a cute daughter, but as a professional stewardess, she couldn't show any dissatisfaction. She silently gave some fruits and snacks to Yang Qing and pretended that nothing happened. However, she was too embarrassed to take photos again. After smelling the delicious food, Lan Lan seemed to be stimulated by something. She quickly woke up from her sleep and ate all the food that the stewardess brought for Yang Qing. Then, she opened her big watery eyes and looked at the stewardess pitifully. The stewardess had no way to deal with this irresistible naivety. She was surprised by the little girl's appetite, and fortunately, the food supply in the first-class cabin was sufficient. She brought more fruits and airline meals for Lan Lan, and also a bottle of juice. Lan Lan happily bit the cake while asking Yang Qing, Dad, are we going to find Mom? Yang Qing, who was biting a piece of orange, had a stiff expression on his face. He reached out to touch his daughter's head and said with a smile, Mom and Dad quarreled and quarreled. In a few days, Dad will go and persuade Mom. Little fat girl, be good, Mom will be back soon. Then can Lan Lan not sleep with Mom anymore? The chubby girl blinked and asked. Of course, your mom won't even let us in now. Yang Qing revealed a distressed expression. Lan Lan suddenly licked her pink tongue. Then can Lan Lan sleep with Aunt Qianni? Yang Qing couldn't help but smile and pinch the child's nose. You little traitor, you want to abandon your mother so soon? You even picked Aunt Qianni. What, do you like her a lot? Lan Lan said with a serious face. Grandma said that children don't need to worry about adults' matters. As long as they are obedient, they will have good food to eat. Aunt Qianni's cooking is delicious. Yang Qing immediately understood that she had taken a fancy to Emo Qianni's cooking. What a good daughter! However, it was true that among his women, only Emo Qianni and Li Jingjing's cooking was more outstanding. Otherwise, why would the children of poor families take charge of the household early? Originally, he was thinking about where Lan Lan would live after returning to Zhonghai. This time, he didn't have to think too much about it. He would let Emo Qianni take care of Lan Lan for the time being. When she went to work during the day, Min Wan would take care of her. Before returning to Zhonghai, Yang Qing had already called Min Wan and asked her to pack up her things and prepare to move out. After all, he and Lin Ruoshi had quarreled to this point, which couldn't be settled in a short time. It was better for Min Wan to move out and take care of Lan Lan. In fact, if he lived in Emotienni's house, it was equal to showing off his love with other women under the eyes of Lin Ruoshi. At first, Yang Qing didn't think it was appropriate, but after thinking about it, he felt that there was nothing to avoid. He couldn't ignore the existence of the women. Even if he wanted to know why Lin Ruoshi quarreled with him, he should be honest about everything. There was nothing to hide. A few hours later, Yang Qing and Lanlan got off the plane. Sitting in the BMW parked in the parking lot, Yang Qing directly rushed back to the courtyard in the western suburbs. On the way, he remembered that he had to call Min Wan and Emotienni. Just as he turned on his phone, Yang Qing suddenly saw that there were several calls from Li Jingjing. Thinking that Li Jingjing might be looking for him, Yang Qing called back, but soon heard the voice of the phone being turned off. Yang Qing hesitated for a moment, feeling that something was wrong. Li Jingjing was a public official, so it was reasonable to say that she wouldn't turn off her phone in broad daylight. Thus, he found old Li's house number and called. When the call connected, just as Yang Qing spoke, he was interrupted by old Li, who was on the other end of the line. "Little Yang, where have you been? Jingjing called you so many times, but you couldn't get through. Quickly think of a way to save Jingjing. She was taken to the police station by those sons of B***cheese." Chapter 1368. Yang Cheng's mind buzzed and he almost couldn't react. Why was Li Jingjing suddenly in the police station? Old Li, slow down. What happened? Yang Qing frowned. Old Li rambled on until he finally got the gist of what had happened. It turned out that after Li Jingjing called the police only sent a few officers over half an hour later and asked her to repeat the incident. After Li Jingjing told them the truth, the police took her to the police station with the excuse of cooperating with the investigation. However, after more than an hour, Li Jingjing still didn't come back. Old Li called her phone, but it was turned off. Later, when he called the police station, they said they didn't know anything about it. It was as if Li Jingjing had disappeared into thin air. Yang Qing didn't want to listen any further. He said, "I'll handle it, don't worry," and hung up. Although he was in a hurry to get to the West City police station, Yang Qing felt that it wasn't appropriate to break into the police station when he saw his daughter sitting in the passenger seat. Moreover, it might be too slow to get there now. After some thought, Yang Qing dialed Li Dun's number. Li Dun quickly picked up the phone. There were all kinds of rough shouts coming from the other side. It seemed like they were drinking and socializing. "Hey, old Yang, why did you call me when you're free? Xian Air just asked me if I wanted to visit you at the Yang family. I said it's not appropriate to give gift. Why don't you come over and have a drink? F***ck off. You think I don't know how stingy you are. I'm in Zhonghai and I need to talk to you about something." Li Dun seemed to be tipsy and burped. "I'm drinking with my brothers in the army in Beijing." "You're in Zhonghai? Why did you suddenly come back to Zhonghai? Not visiting relatives anymore?" Yang Qin said, "One of my women was arrested by the Zhonghai West City Police Station, and now they say they didn't arrest this person. I know that the security department is on this line, and I don't want to tear down the police station again. Can you help me send a reliable person to bring her out safely?" Others might not know, but Yang Qing had found out from a private conversation with Li Dun that Li Dun was not only a Special Forces officer, but also the youngest deputy minister of the Ministry of State Security. Due to the special nature of the Ministry of State Security, apart from Li Moshen's identity as the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister, several other senior officials were kept secret. Li Dun immediately sobered up a little and said in surprise, "The South is really a place with crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Who in Zhonghai would dare to kidnap your woman? Don't talk nonsense, hurry up and call for help." Yang Cheng's heart was stifled. "Don't worry, I know what I'm doing." Li Dun chuckled and hung up the phone. A few minutes later, Zhonghai West City Police Station, Chief's office. A slightly chubby man in his 50s was sitting on a big leather chair, smoking a cigarette in one hand and holding a newspaper in the other. It was the newly appointed chief, Zhao Baoguo. He was transferred here from another province after Choi Yun's departure. Zhao Baoguo was 57 this year and would retire in a few more years. He was experienced and knew the temperament of people from all walks of life. He could also control the complicated relationship in the Zhonghai branch. It was the first day of the Lunar New Year, so it wasn't his turn to be on duty. But these years, the higher-ups were very strict and couldn't afford to make any mistakes. Especially during the Lunar New Year, it was easy for criminals to take advantage of the loopholes. Therefore, there weren't many people in the police station on holidays. They could only visit their relatives and friends during lunch break. Zhao Baoguo knew that if something happened, he would be in danger in his old age. Therefore, he stayed in the police station obediently. After all, there weren't many things that required his decision. Just then, there was a knock on the office door. "Come in." Zhao Baoguo put down the newspaper and flicked the ash on the cigarette butt. The person who walked in the door was a strong man in a police uniform. He looked to be in his early 30s, with short hair and a clean-shaven beard. He had a broad forehead, handsome eyebrows, a dignified appearance, and a bit elegant. "Oh, Deputy Chief Jiang, you came to work today? Happy New Year, what's the matter?" Zhao Baoguo greeted him with a smile, and the information about the young police officer in front of him flashed in his mind. Jiang Xiaobai, a native of Dongdong Province, 32 years old, has been the deputy chief of the Zhonghai West City Police Station for 3 years. He could be said to be young and promising. Most likely, in 2 or 3 years, he would be promoted to the position of chief. Not everyone had a general father with real power like Choi Yun, and she was also the daughter of a second-tier family in Yanjing. It was not by chance that Jiang Xiaobai, who had no background, could get to where he was today. He must have his outstanding ability. After being transferred back to Zhonghai, Zhao Baoguo didn't have much contact with Jiang Xiaobai. He only knew that Jiang Xiaobai was a low-key person. He usually dealt with some civil work in the police station, and his relationship with his colleagues was very harmonious. Jiang Xiaobai said with his usual gentle smile, "Chief Zhao, I want to ask if the bureau has arrested a young lady named Li Jingjing. She is a member of the Higher Education Department of the Zhonghai Education Bureau." Zhao Baoguo frowned slightly, lowered his head and took a puff of his cigarette, then flicked the ash and said, "Xiaobai, let me call you that, it's more intimate. Why do you suddenly ask about such a thing?" "Chief Zhao, I received a call saying that after such a young lady was pulled into the bureau, she was suddenly arrested and there was no news of her. I want to confirm that this is not groundless. Chief Zhao, I think you also know that our police station needs a transparent and open system, not some shady business of randomly recording illegal records." Zhao Baoguo's face sank slightly. Li Jingjing's matter was indeed instigated by him behind the scenes, but the person who entrusted it had a great background. He had to accept it for the sake of his old age. He didn't put a mere member of the Education Bureau in his eyes. What kind of family and origin did the other party have? Not to mention letting him train this woman for a few days, even if they secretly killed her, the police wouldn't dare to do anything to them. At most, it would be handed over to the higher-ups to negotiate. "Xiaobai, did you receive a call from the masses? You are still young, and it's good to have the intention to work hard and make progress. After I retire in 2 years, the position of the director will be yours sooner or later. Young man, you have to know how to endure. In your current situation, it's better to avoid trouble. It's obvious that you are being used as a gun by others, so don't get involved." Zhao Baoguo pinched the cigarette butt and waved his other hand, indicating that Jiang Xiaobai could go out. Jiang Xiaobai's face showed a trace of hesitation, and he stood in place without saying a word. Zhao Baoguo thought he was afraid of him and smiled slightly. His experience told him that the young people in this kind of organization would shrink back when they talked about the future. But he guessed wrong this time. Jiang Xiaobai was just not sure whether Zhao Baogua had caught this person or not. If he really didn't catch this person, then it was not worth it for him to reveal his true identity this time to force Zhao Baogua to tell the truth. But after thinking about it, Jiang Xiaobai still silently took out a black leather cover certificate from his coat pocket and slowly placed it on Zhao Baogua's desk. Director, the higher-ups have issued a death order. There must be an answer. I think you'd better tell me the truth. Jiang Xiaobai still smiled shyly. Zhao Baogua couldn't react for a while and picked up the black book lightly, but when he looked at it with his presbyopia, his eyes widened in disbelief. With a slightly trembling hand, he took the presbyopia glasses and put them on. Zhao Baogua saw clearly that this was indeed the certificate he hadn't seen for many years. Ministry of State Security? Opening the content inside, it was Jiang Xiaobai's photo and identity. Zhao Baogua suddenly realized that no wonder this young man was so low-key but got the position of deputy director. He was actually an undercover character placed in the Zhonghai police force? In fact, Zhao Baogua still underestimated Jiang Xiaobai. As one of the trusted aides of the Li family in the south and focused on training, Jiang Xiaobai could mobilize the armed police and special forces stationed in Zhonghai at any time. At the same time, he had military rank and police rank. He was much more domineering than Zhao Baogua. Without waiting for Zhao Baogua to recover, Jiang Xiaobai had already taken back the certificate and asked with a smile, "Director, is there any problem with my certificate?" "No, this is definitely not a problem. Even if I'm blind, I wouldn't dare to make a mistake." Zhao Baogua smiled. "Then may I ask, has Miss Li Jingjing been arrested?" Zhao Baogua was glad that he was sitting in a chair, otherwise he would have fallen to the ground. Fortunately, his attitude was not bad. He wiped his cold sweat and smiled stiffly. "Xiaobai." "Oh no, Deputy Director Jiang, this woman was indeed arrested, but she is no longer in the station." Chapter 1369. A few minutes later, Jiang Xiaobai came out of Zhao Baogua's office and his face was a little ugly because the complexity of this matter exceeded his expectations. If it was an ordinary civil dispute, Jiang Xiaobai could use some of the power given to him by the National Security Bureau to solve it quietly. But this time, it involved a family that the National Security Bureau had to treat with caution. Meng family. Jiang Xiaobai felt that he couldn't make the decision on this matter. It might even involve the stability of the country. He, a trusted official of the Li family, didn't have the ability to provoke such a giant crocodile. After returning to the office, Jiang Xiaobai deliberated over his words and called Li Dun back. "Vice Minister, it's me." Li Dun replied vaguely, "I know it's you, what's wrong? Is it done?" Jiang Xiaobai said cautiously, "Deputy Minister, I understand the situation. This matter involves the Meng family in Huazhong. It was the woman named Li Jingjing who provoked Zhang Ling, the wife of Meng Qin, the director of the Environmental Protection Department of Zhonghai City. Li Dun pondered for a while and said, "That Meng Qin is Meng Kaiyuan's son?" "That's right. He's Meng Kaiyuan's second son and the current second-in-line successor of the Meng family. Although his influence in the family is not as good as his brother Meng Kai, he is still a disciple of the Meng family's main sect and must not be underestimated," Jiang Xiaobai said. Li Dun thought for a moment and suddenly asked, "Have you rescued the woman named Li Jingjing?" Jiang Xiaobai hesitated and said, "Not yet. I heard from Director Zhao that she was imprisoned in the detention center on the outskirts of the city. That Zhang Ling wants her to undergo a few days of labor education." "What? Detention center? Damn it. Did that woman commit a crime?" "He wasn't a criminal, nor was he a suspect. What right did he have to lock him up in the detention center? Does he not want the black hat on his head anymore?" Young Master Li was furious on the phone. Jiang Xiaobai was covered in cold sweat. "Deputy Minister, please calm down. I'll bring someone to bring Miss Li out." Li Dun scolded, Jiang Xiaobai, you pig brain. I'm telling you, if something happens to this woman, even I can't protect you. Do you know who her man is? Let me tell you, if that woman is fine, then you will have pierced the sky. Nothing will happen to you. If anything happens to that woman, not to mention you, that bullshit Meng family will also have to bear the consequences. Jiang Xiaobai was almost scared silly. Who in Huaxia could make the Meng family unable to bear it? Even one of the 4 major families in Yanjin couldn't confront the Meng family head-on. Unless the central government is determined, the key is that the number 1 official has strict requirement. Only then can the state machine spend a lot of money to get rid of the Meng family. But if there were not enough benefits in return, would the number 1 chief be so crazy as to make a decision that would affect the whole situation? In the face of the country's overall interests, no matter how evil or ugly the matter was, they had to prioritize the overall interests. But Jiang Xiaobai couldn't think too much at this time. He knew that if he didn't do as young Master Li asked, he wouldn't have to wait for the Meng family to do anything. Just as Jiang Xiaobai was about to hang up the phone, Li Dun stopped him again and said, "Before you go to the detention center, call a man's phone, which is the woman's lover. He asked me to do it. It is necessary to let him know the whole story. You go to the detention center with him, and tell him that you are my man. If something happens, you don't have to care about anything else. Just stand by his side. Remember, everything else is fake. Do something for him, and you will be safe." Jiang Xiaobai was confused again, but he still wrote down the mobile phone number. Before he set off, Jiang Xiaobai felt that something was wrong. What kind of person could make young Master Li pay so much attention to him? Don't be rude. So, Jiang Xiaobai cautiously went online, entered the National Security Bureau's system, entered the mobile phone number, and investigated the identity of the owner of the number. When he found the corresponding name, Jiang Xiaobai's jaw gradually became unable to close. When Yang Qing sent Lanlan to the courtyard in the western suburbs, Mo Qianni was already waiting with Min Wan. Mo Qianni knew that Lin Ruoxi suddenly flew back to Zhonghai at night and realized that the situation was not good. Sure enough, Yang Qing's phone call later confirmed this. She didn't expect the couple to quarrel to such an extent during the new year. Although Mo Qianni had long noticed that Hui Lin liked Yang Qing, she didn't expect it to really happen, but she didn't think much about it. She was just puzzled that Lin Ruoxi really wanted to make such a big fuss. In Mo Qianni's opinion, this was not in line with Lin Ruoxi's temperament at all. Lin Ruoxi was not the kind of woman who couldn't bear it. She should know that if she divorced Yang Qing in front of everyone, even the Yang family would lose face, and there would be many obstacles for them to reconcile. Did Lin Ruoxi really want to give up this marriage? Thinking of this, Mo Qianni surprisingly didn't feel happy. Instead, she felt very uneasy and worried. When Yang Qing took Lanlan's little hand and entered the door, Mo Qianni gave the man a complicated look and bent down to pick up Lanlan. "Aunt Qianni, Lanlan is hungry." The chubby little girl hooked her arm around the woman's neck and said expectantly. When Mo Qianni saw this little guy, she showed a gentle smile. Didn't Lanlan have lunch? She had already learned that Lanlan was Yang Qing's biological daughter. She was surprised and loved her more and more. "Still hungry? You ate an airline meal for 5 people on the plane. If you eat more, you'll really become a little fat pig." Yang Qing pinched his daughter's face. "Eat after dinner, go take a nap first." Yang Qing called Min Wan over and said, "Min Wan, you can continue to take care of Lanlan for the next few days. You can stay with Qianni for the time being." Min Wan didn't dare to approach. The woman asked with shame, "Mr. Yang, is it because of me? If I told you earlier, would it not be like this?" Yang Qing thought to himself, "How could it be so simple? I still don't know the situation." "Don't think too much, this is our business. You just need to take good care of Lanlan and tell Qianni about all the expenses." Yang Qing turned to Mo Qianni and said, "Arrange for Lanlan. She said that she likes to be with you, so I'll let her like it." As he said, Yang Qing took out a credit card and handed it to Emotieni. There should be tens of millions in this. Deduct Lanlin's daily expenses from this, but don't listen to her spending messy money. Eat good food, drink, and next semester's tuition should be enough. No matter how rich you are, you can't spoil your child. Emotieni shook her head and refused. She didn't want to accept it. I know what I'm doing. There's no need for this money. Although I'm not as rich as Ruashi, it's not a problem to raise Lanlan. Yang Qing smiled bitterly and blushed. I'm not saying that you don't have money. It's just that since Lanlan was born, I haven't done much to fulfill my responsibility. I hope to do more for her. Money is a small matter, don't bother with me as her father. Emotieni could hear the bitterness in Yang Qing's words. She sighed and took the credit card silently. Although it was a huge sum of tens of millions, after being with Yang Qing for a long time, money really became a small matter. I still have something to do, I'll be back tonight. Yang Qing hadn't received any news from Li Jingjing yet, so he planned to go to the police station in person. Emotieni didn't ask much and went upstairs to rest with Lanlan in her arms. In fact, the chubby little girl was about to fall asleep at this time. She didn't forget about practicing. Yang Qing went out and just drove out of the western suburbs courtyard. He received a strange call. As soon as he answered, the other side was a gentleman's voice. Is this Mr. Yang Qing? Who are you? Yang Qing felt that the soft voice sounded a little weird. I was entrusted by Deputy Minister Li to serve you, Jiang Xiaobai, the Deputy Director of the Western City Police Station. I want to tell you about Miss Li Jingjing's situation. Jiang Xiaobai swallowed his saliva. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't nervous. This was a tough character who had killed the shortest-lived Director Liu of the Western District Police Station. But in contrast, he was more excited. Jiang Xiaobai knew that if he could build a good relationship with the young master of the Yang family, he would have a huge capital for promotion in the future. Oh, so it's the Ministry of Security? You guys are not efficient. Did you bring my woman out? Yang Qing only thought that the problem had been solved. Jiang Xiaobai blushed with shame and said, Mr. Yang, please calm down. I haven't been able to bring Miss Li out for the time being. I just found out that she was sent to the labor camp in the northern suburbs. I don't want to hide it from you. I want to investigate it with you. Chapter 1370. The moment Yang Qing heard the words, labor camp, his hand tightened and he almost crushed his phone. His face suddenly became gloomy, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. He whispered, You wait at the exit of the North Ring Road, I will drive over to meet you, you lead the way. Jiang Xiaobai shivered all over and immediately agreed. In fact, he was already sitting in the car, waiting for Yang Qing to speak. He stepped on the accelerator and rushed over. Yang Qing drove very fast. When he arrived at the agreed intersection, he directly pressed the horn and asked Jiang Xiaobai to lead the way. He also kept pressing the horn to urge Jiang Xiaobai to overtake and exceed the speed limit. Jiang Xiaobai was usually low-key. This time, he turned on the siren and rushed to the labor camp, which was unprecedented, but thinking of who was driving behind, he had to bite the bullet. After arriving at the labor camp on the edge of a small town in a remote location, Yang Qing got out of the car and walked to the gate without saying a word. Jiang Xiaobai caught up with him with a briefcase in his arms. Although he knew what Yang Qing looked like before, looking at him up close, this man who was not tall or handsome was really nothing special. However, the aura faintly exuded from Yang Qing made his bones tingle all over his body. He had also received special training and knew that people with this kind of aura most likely had blood on their hands. When they came to the gate, 2 guards immediately stopped the two. Jiang Xiaobai was afraid of provoking the person next to him, so he quickly took out his ID and said, Director Zhao greeted me before, I am Deputy Director Jiang Xiaobai. The 2 guards actually didn't hear anything, but the ID was correct, so they didn't dare to stop them. Yang Qing walked into the center expressionlessly. Jiang Xiaobai didn't dare to make a sound and just led Yang Qing to the director's office. The director of this labor camp was surnamed Zhou. Director Zhou had just received a call from Zhao Baogua before, but he didn't expect Jiang Xiaobai to come so soon. He was very puzzled. Why did Li Jingjing, who he had specifically wanted to take care of, suddenly want him to withdraw his order? He specifically asked Zhao Baogua if he would take the responsibility, but Zhao Baogua was ambiguous, which made Director Zhou angry. This person was someone that Madame Meng wanted to deal with. If he didn't do it well, he would be implicated. But now, Zhao Baogua said that he can't make a move, but he didn't want to help him. He was in a dilemma. When he saw Jiang Xiaobai entering the door with a strange man, Director Zhou showed a warm smile, stepped forward and shook hands. Deputy Director Jiang, why did you come here in person? Jiang Xiaobai introduced Yang Qing next to him. This is Mr. Yang, Miss Li Jingjing's boyfriend. I'm afraid there is a misunderstanding this time. I'm here to take Miss Li away. Director Zhou wondered who this person was. He thought nervously that the person who could be brought by Jiang Xiaobai was definitely not an ordinary person. He definitely couldn't afford to offend him, but he didn't know how Li Jingjing was taken care of. It would be bad if he blamed it on him. However, he was also a quick-witted person and quickly came up with a countermeasure. He smiled warmly and said, "All right, I'll bring the two of you over right away. I was also ordered by my superiors to imprison you. I'm really sorry." While explaining, Director Zhou led the way to the base behind the labor camp. When they came to an independent courtyard, under several tall camphor trees, they finally saw Li Jingjing's figure. But as soon as they saw her, both Jiang Xiaobai and Director Zhou showed embarrassment, and Yang Cheng's expression became more and more gloomy. She saw a middle-aged fat woman in her 40s wearing a uniform. She had thick arms and a thick neck. She was holding a police baton in her hand and was standing next to Li Jingjing arrogantly. She had a fierce expression on her face. Li Jingjing was not doing anything else at this time. She was squatting on the ground, with 7 or 8 large wash basins beside her, scrubbing the dirty clothes inside. It was February, and Zhonghai was still freezing in the morning. Even in the afternoon, the temperature was only a single digit. Washing clothes with cold water was undoubtedly soaking her hands in ice water. Li Jingjing was wearing a thin green shirt and trousers from the labor camp. She was scrubbing a pair of dirt-stained trousers in the cold wind. Her eyes were red, as if she had been crying. She was lost in thought and didn't notice that someone had come. "What are you doing? Do you want a man? Rub your hands harder!" The woman shouted discontentedly, and was about to hit Li Jingjing's back with the baton. "Stop!" Director Zhou's forehead was full of cold sweat, and he immediately shouted. He rushed up and grabbed the baton in the woman's hand and roared, "Who told you to treat the suspect like this? Who ordered you? Idiot!" While shouting, Director Zhou hit the woman's thigh with the baton, and signaled the woman not to say a word. The woman was aggrieved. "Isn't this what you asked me to do?" But after following her for many years, she quickly understood and stood aside with her head bowed. Li Jingjing raised her head and saw that Yang Qing had stood in front of her. He was expressionless, looking at her with a gloomy face, and there seemed to be black flames dancing in his eyes. The woman was startled. First, she was surprised, and then she felt a strong sense of shame spreading from the bottom of her heart. The tears of grievance, pain, and unwillingness made her delicate body tremble, and she bit her lips without saying a word. "What? Don't talk. As soon as I returned to Zhonghai from Yanjing, I came to save you. Shouldn't you be very grateful to me?" Yang Qing asked in a low voice. Li Jingjing didn't answer and slowly stood up. Her hands were filled with soap water, and she wiped them on her clothes, trying to squeeze out the panic and tension in her heart. She was very afraid, and suddenly did not dare to face the man in front of her, for her cowardice, for her incompetence, for her weakness. Because of the cultivation method given by Yang Qing, the woman was not afraid of this cold at this time, nor was she afraid of ordinary blows, but for some reason, her body was shivering. Jiang Xiaobai on the side asked, Director Zhou, how did your subordinates do things? Even if they are really suspects, they shouldn't do things like this. This is not labor reform, this is abuse. Are these winter clothes? Can so many clothes be washed by one person? Don't be angry, Deputy Bureau Chief. Don't be angry, sir. I didn't know my men were so daring. I will punish her severely. I will never cover her up. Director Zhou's face was full of guilt, and he turned back to slap the woman with the baton twice, but the strength of the baton didn't work in the end, but the woman's cry of pain was very loud. Director Zhou was also a clever person. In short, he pushed all the blame to his subordinate. As long as he was fine, he could just fire this subordinate and secretly use his relationship to arrange for her to come in. Who would know? Jiang Xiaobai glared at him fiercely, and then euphemistically said to Yang Qing, Mr. Yang, the person has been found. Why don't we take Miss Li away first? This matter can be discussed in the long run. There are other secrets behind this, I will tell you in detail. Yang Qing ignored him, but suddenly kicked the washtub on the ground. The washtub was torn apart, and the water and clothes were scattered all over the ground, but the scene was dead silent. Li Jingjing was startled, her pretty face turned pale, and she quickly took 2 steps back. Why don't you speak? When you were in Korea, weren't you very bold? Didn't you dare to call me a beast and say that you dare to face me? Yang Qing pressed her step by step, and he didn't mean to let her go. Li Jingjing looked sad, and her tears finally began to fall uncontrollably. She shook her head helplessly, choking with sobs and unable to speak. Li Jingjing, what's wrong with you? Why don't you even dare to look up at my eyes? Do you feel ashamed, or do you resent me for not protecting you well? Yang Qing sneered. Did they send a master to arrest you? Did they point a gun at your head? Did you forget what I taught you? Or do you not believe that I can protect you at all? Li Jingjing finally couldn't help shaking her head vigorously. No. Brother Yang, you're just afraid. You think it's wrong to hit people, and you should use legal weapons to protect yourself. You think it's natural for the police to arrest people, and you, a civilian, can't resist. You think your family is very poor, you have parents to take care of, you can't fight against those people, you think I am far away from you, and I may not be able to protect you. Do you think you're still the poor woman whose father sets up a stall on the street, whose mother cooks at home, and who works poor and doesn't know where to go in the future? His impassioned words made Li Jingjing dumbstruck. But Yang Qing didn't stop there. He suddenly took a step forward and slapped Li Jingjing's left cheek. Chapter 1371. Pa! Although he didn't use much strength, the strength was enough to make Li Jingjing's ears ringing, and immediately a red color appeared on her white face. This time, compared to the physical pain, Li Jingjing felt as if an ice cone was piercing her heart, and at this moment, the depths of her fragile soul was about to be broken. The woman covered half of her face, twisting her head in resentment, anger, confusion, and pain. Finally, she gritted her teeth and looked fiercely at Yang Qing's eyes. However, when Li Jingjing saw Yang Qing's gaze, all her anger vanished without a trace. Because at this moment, in addition to anger, Yang Qing's eyes also had endless pity and heartache. He hit her, and he was the one who hurt more. Yang Qing ignored the astonishment of Jiang Xiaobai and the others around him, walked to Director Zhou's side, grabbed the baton, and then placed it in front of Li Jingjing. Take it, Yang Qing said with a gloomy face. Li Jingjing didn't know what this meant, and looked at the man blankly. Take it? Yang Qing's tone was heavier, and he shouted. Li Jingjing shivered and immediately went to grab it, for fear that Yang Qing would slap her again. Yang Qing pointed to the uniformed woman who stood still and said, Which hand did she use to hit you with the baton just now? You go and break her hand now. Li Jingjing opened her mouth in surprise. Jiang Xiaobai frowned, hesitating whether to persuade him or not. Director Zhou and the woman on the side were anxious. Director Zhou hurriedly stepped forward and smiled apologetically. Mr. Yang, we will let her go. Yang Qing suddenly reached out and grabbed Director Zhou's neck, and his whole body was lifted high. In Yang Qing's hands, Director Zhou's body was struggling in midair, but it was as light as a feather. Li Jingjing, I will say it again, if you don't hit me, then I will strangle this guy now. If you don't hit me, I will kill someone. Yang Qing's eyes were filled with killing intent. His entire person was like a sharp sword that was about to be unsheathed at any time. Jiang Xiaobai was in a cold sweat. He couldn't help but step forward and said, Mr. Yang, I'm afraid this is not good. If someone dies, it will be a big deal. If the higher-ups investigate, Yang Qing turned his head and said coldly, Do you want to die too? Jiang Xiaobai's remaining words were all stuck in his throat. He could feel that what Yang Qing said about killing was not false. In fact, Jiang Xiaobai didn't think that Yang Qing was the kind of person who really took killing seriously. Based on his experience, this kind of person was the most difficult to deal with, because they did not care about the consequences. If he really angered them, he would kill them first. The woman was so scared that her legs turned to jelly. She knelt on the ground and begged, Young master, spare my life. I'm just a nobody. I have a child to raise at home, spare me. I won't dare to do it again. Yang Qing turned a deaf ear, pouted his lips, and continued to say to Li Jingjing, Go, do you want to kill or cripple, you choose. Li Jingjing held the baton in both hands and kept shaking her head. Her hands were trembling. Brother Yang, don't force me, you can't do this. At this moment, the woman seemed to have returned to the time when she was still a college student, so helpless and hesitant, calling a man brother. Yang Qing didn't listen at all. He slowly increased the strength of his hand. Director Zhou's breathing gradually became hoarse, as if he was going to die at any time. Jiang Xiaobai on the side had his heart beating to his throat. He didn't understand why Yang Qing had spent so much effort to come here to save people, but he still wanted to play this trick. Li Jingjing finally couldn't stand this kind of mental oppression. She was afraid that Director Zhou would die on the spot, as if she was the one who caused his death. Gritting her teeth, she stepped to the side of the woman. At this time, the woman couldn't wait to stand up and run away, but even the director was held up and couldn't move. If she stood up, she might be beaten to death directly. How could she dare to get up? Li Jingjing could hear her heartbeat and her heavy breathing at this time. She raised the baton and hit the woman's right arm. However, at the moment of hitting, Li Jingjing seemed to be weak. She just scratched it, and it was considered a hit. Not only that, Li Jingjing even squinted her eyes, as if she didn't dare to look. Yang Qing suddenly threw Director Zhou to the ground. Ouch! Director Zhou screamed. Although he fell to the mud, he still felt that his bones were about to shatter. Then there was a foot on his neck that stepped on him fiercely. Yang Qing stepped on Director Zhou's throat and said with a livid face, Li Jingjing, you don't seem to understand what I said. I asked you to cripple her hand, not to tickle her. If you do this again, I will crush his neck with my foot. Director Zhou was scared to pee, and suddenly cried and shouted, Miss! Hit me! I don't want to die. At this time, he didn't care about what was going on. Saving his own life was the right thing to do. What are you hesitating for? You won't be the first person this woman hits, but maybe the last one. If you let her go today, she will beat up people who come here in the future. She did all this very skillfully. Obviously, in this place, she had abused many suspects, and even many of them just to help some so-called big shots deal with some ordinary people. Evil officials are sometimes more terrible than corrupt officials, because they rely on their master's power and have no bottom line at all. They vent their anger on others. Do you think she deserves your sympathy? Yang Qing sneered. Li Jingjing's mind was in a mess, and she was about to collapse. Seeing that Director Zhou's face had turned red, she finally swung the baton and smashed it on the woman's right arm. Ow! The woman screamed, hugged her right arm, and fell to the ground and rolled. My hand is broken. Ah. It hurts. But how could such a play fool Yang Qing? Yang Qing sneered and said, She is acting, you continue to hit until you interrupt her. Li Jingjing's eyes were red and full of tears, but she couldn't care too much, and continued to smash the woman's right arm with the baton. Although she didn't use her internal force, after so many medicinal pills and the growth of her internal force, her physique was also far better than ordinary people. In fact, if she really wanted to fight, it would be effortless, and her strength was great. The woman tried to block it, but in this way, Li Jingjing hit more parts of her body. In less than 10 seconds, the woman's body was already bruised all over, and her screams were endless, and she cried loudly. Jiang Xiaobai frowned, but when he looked at Yang Qing on the side, he didn't feel any change in his expression at all. Li Jingjing continued to beat like this, and gradually seemed to be unable to control it. The anger in her heart gradually spurted out, and the strength of her hands became greater and greater. Crack! With a cracking sound, the woman's right arm was finally broken by Li Jingjing. The woman rolled her eyes in pain and fainted directly. Li Jingjing's body stiffened. After realizing that she had completed the task, the baton in her hand slipped instantly, and she staggered back a step. Her face was pale, and cold sweat dripped down. She gasped, as if she couldn't believe that she had just done such a tyrannical thing. Yang Qing let go of Director Zhou at this moment, walked slowly to the woman, put his hands on the woman's soft shoulders, and let her look at him. Li Jingjing turned back and looked at Yang Qing timidly. At this time, the man made her feel a sense of fear and strangeness. See, as long as you pick up the baton and hit her, some seemingly fierce people are actually so weak and incompetent. Li Jingjing sobbed, unable to speak. Yang Qing suddenly bowed his head and kissed the woman's cold, thin lips with tears. Li Jingjing's eyes widened, feeling the man's hot breath, and the domineering tongue entered and stirred, making her feel a kind of fiery affection in shame and indignation. This kind of love and affection made her body, which was still cold just now, gradually recover its temperature. The trembling of her body also eased, and her heart gradually calmed down. After a wet kiss that lasted for 2 or 3 minutes, Yang Qing let go of the woman. Li Jingjing's face was flushed at this time, and her eyes were a little dazed. Yang Qing gently stroked Li Jingjing's messy hair with his hand, held the woman's beautiful face, and said with complex emotions, Li Jingjing, being my woman is not so simple. You must learn to arm yourself, and you must be more fierce than the enemy who tries to hurt you. Remember, when a person understands what real resistance is, no matter how ordinary his identity is, how small his strength is, he is no longer humble. Chapter 1372. Li Jingjing's eyes gradually became bright and glowed with brilliance, as if a door was quietly opening. After seeming to understand something, the woman nodded meekly but resolutely, thoughtfully. Jiang Xiaobai, who was standing behind, showed a trace of emotion. Looking at Yang Qing's back, he seemed to have some enlightenment and became a little more serious. He knew that there was a mess to clean up at the moment. Director Zhou had to use his relationship to suppress the woman's mouth, and Zhao Baogua also had to give an explanation to let him deal with the Meng family. But for some reason, Jiang Xiaobai felt that this task was worth it, and he felt that he had also benefited a lot. After Li Jingjing finished changing her clothes, Yang Qing left the labor camp with the woman and told Old Li and his wife that their daughter was fine and asked them to stay in Anshin. After Jiang Xiaobai made a few phone calls, things were roughly settled, but he knew that the Meng family's matter would not be so easy to solve, and Yang Qing obviously had the intention to pursue the matter, so he still went with Yang Qing. After returning to the city, he found a secluded tea-house and sat down to chat. Because during the spring festival, the tea-house was deserted. After the waiter served tea and dried fruits, the atmosphere calmed down. Li Jingjing learned that this was the deputy director of the police station, who was also sent by Yang Qing's friend, and immediately thanked Jiang Xiaobai very seriously. Her mood had stabilized and she was very sober. Yang Qing drank a few mouthfuls of tea and threw a few cashews into his mouth. There was no longer the hostility just now, and he looked like a common person. This sharp contrast made Jiang Xiaobai a little stunned. "Okay, tell me, who did this?" Yang Qing asked. Jiang Xiaobai glanced at Li Jingjing, sorted out his thoughts, and roughly described the matter. Generally speaking, Zhang Ling secretly used her position in the Meng family to arrest Li Jingjing in revenge. When Li Jingjing heard the name Zhang Ling, she said with shame and anger, "Isn't she the mother of Deputy Director Meng? I have nothing to do with Deputy Director Meng at all. Why is she so sure that I seduced her son?" Jiang Xiaobai smiled and said, "I don't know. I only know that Zhang Ling is the second wife of Meng Qin, the head of the Environmental Protection Department, and not Meng Zhixin's biological mother. The head of the Environmental Protection Department is not enough for your national security to expose you as an undercover agent. The Meng family should be more than this," Yang Qing inferred. Jiang Xiaobai nodded. He finally asked this question. He looked around to make sure that there was no one nearby, then solemnly said, "The Meng family has a long history, dating back to the Qing dynasty. It was a gang family that was split from the Qin gang. The Meng clan was now one of the largest gangs within the borders of Huaxia. The leader of the Huanan gang, Meng Kaiyuan, was Meng Qin's father. Meng Qin has an elder brother, Meng Kai, who is the second son. As the Huanan gang has been entering the political scene, he is a representative figure. Meng Zhixin is the second son and is also one of the younger generation who is involved in the political scene. His wife, Zhang Ling, is also not simple. She is the daughter of Zhang Yun, the head of the Golden Jade Hall of the Huanan gang, so even if she married Meng Qin, her status is not ordinary. From the late Qing dynasty to the present era, the Meng family has been entrenched in the 4 provinces of the Central Plains for more than 100 years. They are deeply rooted. Whether it is economic or political, they have a large number of contacts, so the central government does not dare to act rashly. In recent years, the leaders have been treating them with a soft policy. The Meng family also knows that it is definitely not as overbearing as the state machine, so they have been doing their part and not doing anything out of line. The largest legitimate industry of the Meng family is Huazhong industry. In recent years, whenever there is a flood, drought, or earthquake disaster, they have donated a large sum of money. They also sent their logistics company to deliver supplies. Many places have a prominent reputation and excellent reputation. I heard that Meng Kaiyuan and several military generals with real power in the Central Plains are also close friends, because they have been friends since the revolutionary era. I don't know these things at my level. Yang Chen's expression didn't change as he muttered to himself for a moment, "I'm not familiar with some of the gangs in the country. Just tell me, compared to Beijing's Azure Dragon Society, Zhonghai's Red Thorn Society, what level is this Huanan gang at?" Jiang Xiaobai smiled bitterly and said, "Mr. Yang, with all due respect, there is no comparison at all. Oh! Whether it is the Azure Dragon Society or the Red Thorn Society, they are just gangs. Although they have great influence in Yanjing and the surrounding areas of Zhonghai, it is only for the sake of regional stability that the country has allowed them to dominate for a few years. If we really want to get rid of them, it will only take a day or two to send troops to raise the residences of those key figures. But this Huanan gang, not to mention the members placed in the government, they all have official positions, and there are many military representatives supporting them. The regional influence has been intertwined. This kind of old gang is not a mob. They have strict discipline, and even in terms of rules, they are much stricter than the army. In case any of the key figures of the Huanan gang is touched, the backlash may be local financial losses, the destruction of the underground forces, the paralysis of the functions of government agencies, etc. This will be a lose-lose situation for the country, so it will hurt the country's tendons and bones, and the higher-ups will not agree. Yang Qing smiled sarcastically. It's not that they don't agree, but being led by the nose by the Huanan gang, no one has the guts to bear this responsibility. After all, whoever goes against the Huanan gang is the enemy of a large group of Huanan gang officials, and there is the possibility of being killed in secret. Jiang Xiaobai said awkwardly, "You can't say that. The overall situation is more important. With the Huanan gang, the underground forces in the 4 provinces of the Central Plains will be more peaceful." *T. If this were to be put in ancient times, it would be a vassal king rebelling. What is the difference between this and China? No one has the guts to touch the tiger's whiskers when they haven't found a good opportunity? Yang Qing said disdainfully. Jiang Xiaobai wanted to argue, but his face was red and he couldn't speak. Indeed, it was useless to deceive oneself. No one in power could stand it. There was a large piece of land below that was shared with them. With a sigh, Jiang Xiaobai smiled bitterly and said, "Mr. Yang, with all due respect, I know you are the young master of the Yang family. But the influence of the Yang family is mainly in the military, and the troops in the 4 provinces of the Central Plains are not very close to the Yang family. The Yang family is indeed one of the 4 major families in Yanjing, but a strong dragon can't suppress a local snake. The Meng family of the Huanan gang is just the leader, and the others such as the Zhang family have great influence. If they cooperate, they will definitely not be afraid of the Yang family." Because Yang Cheng's overseas identity was not something that ordinary national security personnel could have access to, Jiang Xiaobai didn't know Yang Cheng's other strengths, and only regarded him as the young master of the Yang family. Yang Qing didn't think much of this. In his opinion, the country didn't touch the Huanan gang because they didn't want to hurt the enemy by 1,000 but hurt themselves by 800, not because they really didn't dare or were unwilling. "Help me contact that Zhang Ling. Ask that woman to bring her son, Meng Zhixin, to my house and kowtow to apologize to Jingjing. Then I'll spare their lives. Otherwise, I'll burn down the King Meng family." Yang Qing waved his hand and seemed to have made a deal. Jiang Xiaobai almost slid to the floor. Is this really the young master of the Yang family? Or is he a bandit from some mountain? "Young Master Yang, this. If I ask you to do it, then do it. What? Do I have to go to their house in person and tell them?" Yang Qing said impatiently. Jiang Xiaobai was about to cry. This was too overbearing. If he said these words to the people of the Meng family, would he still have a way to live? Thinking of Li Dun's instructions to help Yang Qing do things and guarantee his safety, Jiang Xiaobai felt that it was more like guaranteeing his death in the line of duty. But Yang Qing didn't want to discuss anything more. He pulled Li Jingjing and walked out. He also turned around and told Jiang Xiaobai not to forget to pay for the tea. Jiang Xiaobai didn't dare to really listen to Yang Qing's words. Touch the Meng family? Even if he had 100 lives, it wouldn't be enough. After thinking about it, Jiang Xiaobai still took out his mobile phone and dialed Li Dun's number. He didn't dare to contact his boss frequently before, but this time, he really didn't dare to make a decision. After the call was connected, a few women's moans came from Li Dun's side, but it soon stopped. Li Dun cursed, "Damn, Jiang Xiaobai, are you looking for a beating? Aren't you afraid that your father's Yang Qi will leak out?" Jiang Xiaobai didn't even have time to think about what the deputy minister was doing. He immediately reported what Yang Qing asked him to do. This time Li Dun was serious and said calmly, "Okay, I'll go and ask for instructions. I'll call you when I'm done." Chapter 1373. After he hung up, Li Dun tossed his phone aside and jumped off the bed to find a pair of pants to put on. On the bed in the bedroom, Tang Xian's clothes were disheveled and her face was flushed red. She sat up with a hint of bitterness. She was in the middle of making love with a man when she was interrupted by the phone call. "Hubby, is it urgent?" Li Dun turned around and smiled apologetically. He reached out and pinched his wife's chest. "Xian I'm sorry. It's a little tricky. I have to talk to the old man. I'm worried that something bad might happen. Tang Xin came from a wealthy family after all. She nodded understandingly and stood up to help her husband dress. It wasn't easy for the couple to get to this day, so they loved each other very much. It was the new year and Li Dun had a rare moment of leisure. He was supposed to go home and have some fun with his wife after drinking with some of his comrades from the battlefield. But after the call, he wasn't in the mood. After he was dressed, Li Dun turned around and kissed Tang Xin. I'll pick you and our son up when we get back. Tell the butler if you need anything. There's plenty in the storeroom. Don't embarrass me. Tang Xin nodded with a sweet smile. Her relationship with her family was strained because of the incident with Yen Buwen, and she was despised by everyone. But after she married into the Li family, she didn't receive any disdain from them. Instead, Li Mozhen and the other elders of the Li family treated them and Li Dun very well. Not to mention, Li Dun always granted her every request. As a result, Tang Xion's status in the Tang family rose. Every time she returned to the Tang family, she was filled with pride. Naturally, she was happy to return to her parents' home. After Li Dun left the house, he drove his military-issued Hummer straight to Li Moshen's office. Although it was the new year, Li Mozhen still had some official business to attend to after socializing. The old man was a little confused when he heard that Li Dun wanted to see him. His grandson never visited without a reason. He would only come to work if he called for him. As soon as Li Dun entered the room, he put on a panicked expression and yelled, "Old man! This is bad. Old Yang is going to cause trouble." Li Mozhen sat on the office chair with a pair of presbyopic glasses on. He put down the book he was reading and frowned. "What are you playing at? Speak properly." "How can I not be? The world is going to be in chaos," Li Dun said gloomily. "You mean old Yang? Yang Cheng?" Li Mozhen raised his brows and said, "Isn't he at loggerheads with Ning Guangyao's daughter? Isn't he going back to Zhonghai to put out the fire? Why, who provoked him again?" Li Dun thought to himself, the older, the wiser. Sitting in the office all day, he knows everything. No wonder he's the commander of the Li family's intelligence network. The incident with Li Jingjing had just happened not long ago. By nightfall, the old man would probably know about it. She didn't provoke him. It was a blind shrew who bullied his woman. With a sigh, Li Dun briefly explained what had happened. Li Mozhen slammed the table and scolded, "You son of a bitch! What audacity! Who allowed you to touch the hidden forces in Zhonghai?" Jiang Xiaobai was originally a seedling to be promoted to the Standing Committee of Zhonghai. If you expose him like this, all our years of cultivation will be in vain. Do you know? Li Dun shrunk his head. "What's the big deal? Let Zhao Baogua keep his mouth shut, no one else knows." "Humph, you think too simply," Li Mozhen scolded but did not pursue the matter further. He narrowed his eyes and said, "You brat, you didn't report to me before and played such a trick. You're clearly acting first and reporting later. You deliberately let Yang Qing go against the Meng family. You're brave enough to play this game. Hey, old man, you always said that I'm bold but not astute. How about it? This move is wonderful, right? The Meng family is a big problem for the central government, and they are also allies of the Ning family. If we can let old Yang do it for us and cripple the Meng family, then we can at least get a piece of the pie with the Yang family. They are the big fish in the coal industry." Li Dun was exposed, but he was not ashamed and said proudly. Li Mozhen sneered, "You think you're smart? You also know that the Meng family is involved with the Ning family. Do you think you're so easy to bully? For so many years, the #1 leader has been courteous to the Meng family. They don't dare to pull out the cancer of the Central Plains. That's because the loss outweighs the gain. A gang-like family like the Meng family is not really beneficial to the country and the people. One mountain can't accommodate 2 tigers. If they continue to toss and turn like this, they will really touch the political lifeline of the central government. I don't believe that the higher-ups can really bear it, Li Dun said disdainfully. It's rare to have someone like old Yang who is not afraid of death and has a strong means. With his blade, I don't believe that he can't cut the centipede of the Meng family. Li Mozhen tapped on the desk with one hand, as if he was weighing something. After thinking for a while, he suddenly got up, walked to the clothes rack, picked up a black coat and walked out of the office. Old man, where are you going? Li Dun wondered. You let Jiang Xiaobai in the mud for a while. Don't get involved, I have to go to Zongnanhai. Li Mozhen didn't look back. Li Dun swallowed his saliva, looked at the deep back of the old man, and finally couldn't help but shout, Let me go with you? I haven't really seen the boss at a close distance yet. Li Mozhen stood still, glanced sideways at his grandson. Kid who hasn't even grown his hair yet, you are not worthy. Li Dun suddenly became listless and couldn't say a word. Thinking about it, the only person in Beijing who could go to the office of the Lord without prior notice was the high-ranking Premier Ning, the only marshal of the Yang family, and him, a low-key old man. Even the dead Tang Zhichen couldn't see him without a good reason. Himself? Unless he was summoned, otherwise, he was far from it, Zhonghai. After coming out of the tea-house, Yang Cheng took Li Jingjing all the way back to the apartment building. The car drove for a full 10 minutes. Li Jingjing lowered her head and didn't say a word. From the side, Yang Cheng could see the girl's constantly changing eyes, that kind of struggle, entanglement, and unpredictable color, indicating the owner's not calm mood. Why, are you thinking of ways to retaliate after being hit by me? Yang Cheng joked. Li Jingjing immediately shook her head and smiled sweetly. I know you're right, you've beaten me up. Then why don't I send you to that Zhang Ling so that you can beat her up again? Yang Qing smiled wickedly. No way, I still don't like to beat people up. Li Jingjing pursed her lips, suddenly her eyes lit up and she said, Brother Yang, can I keep calling you Brother Yang? Yang Qing didn't understand what she meant. He grinned and said, I'll be happier if you call me Brother Yang. No, Li Jingjing's eyes were strangely intoxicated. I feel safe calling you Brother Yang. Yang Qing shook his head with a helpless smile. Suit yourself. Li Jingjing suddenly grabbed Yang Cheng's free right hand and pleaded, Brother Yang, I want to change jobs. Yang Chen was getting more and more confused. Did this woman get too agitated? Puzzled, he asked, Why are you suddenly thinking about this? Are you trying to avoid Meng Zhixin? Don't worry, he won't last long. No, Li Jingjing said seriously. I want to be a high-ranking official, I want to enter politics. Yang Qing smiled weirdly. Why are you suddenly thinking about this? I've thought about it, I've been giving you trouble, and I can't help you at all. Also, I'm so useless, I feel that if this continues, you'll despise me and not want me anymore, Li Jingjing said bitterly. Jingjing, I've never asked my woman to do anything for me. Yang Qing said honestly. I know you don't care about this, but I've had enough of being powerless, being looked down upon, needing you to help me, and making my parents worry. I thought about it, I don't know how to run a business, and Sister Ruoshi and Anshin are doing very well. I'm not as good at cultivation as Sister Kai Ning and the others, I'm only familiar with politics, public affairs, and diplomacy. If I can become an official and not an ordinary employee, then I can at least help a lot of people. Not only you, but also the other sisters. There are a lot of things that don't need to be forceful, it's good to make things convenient for them. Yang Qing nodded in understanding. Li Jingjing's learning ability was actually very strong, and she had a temperament that was close to the people. It was indeed a good path for her to enter the political arena, but he still advised, but you should also know that politics isn't like other things. Even if you have a background, you still need achievements. You have to climb up slowly, and when you're strong enough to help me and be feared by the people, I'm afraid it'll take many years. At this moment, Li Jingjing smiled shyly and shook Yang Chen's arm. Gently, she said, Don't I have you, Brother Yang? You're so powerful, you definitely have a way for me to climb to a higher position in a short period of time. Right? Yang Qing finally understood why the woman grabbed his hand. It was because she wanted to act coquettishly. Babe Jingjing, what if I can't control myself when you're talking to me in such a flirtatious manner? Besides, you're asking me to open the back door for you. Isn't that too explicit? It's not like you at all. Yang Chen teased. Anyway, I've already let you see it no matter how embarrassing it is. What's there to hide? I've also thought it through. I don't use the resources around me. I don't rely on such a powerful man. What's the point of risking my life and suffering? Other people all rely on their connections to become deputy officials in their 30s. I'm not stupid, I learn very fast, and I even graduated from a famous American university. My qualifications are not worse than the diplomas they bought. These are all achieved by my hard work, step by step. Why should I be looked down upon by those rich second generations who just sit back and enjoy the fruits of others' labor? Li Jingjing said angrily. Yang Qing almost mistook the person in front of him as the Wen Tao, who was still in the 10,000 demon realm. Why was Li Jingjing also like a nationalistic youth, cynical and cynical? However, what Li Jingjing said was the truth. She was born in such a poor family, but she was able to get into a national key university, rely on her own work results to study a double master's degree in the United States, and even get the appreciation of those doctoral supervisors. It was not a coincidence. The key was that Li Jingjing still relied on her beauty to win these opportunities. The fresh and talented academic girl, who had been a good girl for more than 20 years, suddenly decided to become the most black-bellied politician. Then the hidden bad ink would only increase. Yang Qing began to ponder, relying on his own ability. In fact, there was really a way to help Li Jingjing step into the upper class of politics in a short period of time. Moreover, the Yang family was strong in the military but weak in the politics. In order to take over the Yang family, it would also be beneficial to cultivate his own political power in Huaxia. After thinking about it carefully, there were quite a lot of ways, but this definitely required the help of the people above. Also, he must give Li Jingjing a certain degree of security. It would be best if someone could guide her from the side. Chapter 1374. Yang Qing didn't promise Li Jingjing immediately. This kind of thing needed careful consideration, so he asked Li Jingjing to take a few days off first. When old Li and his wife saw their daughter return safely, they cried with joy. This new year was not comfortable. Fortunately, nothing serious happened, and their son-in-law was very reliable. Yang Qing was also very considerate to buy Li Jingjing a Mercedes-Benz ML350. Although the price was a little cheaper than the previous one, the key point was that it was practical for Old Li and his wife. Old Li and his wife were very enthusiastic to stay for dinner, but Yang Qing declined politely. Emo Qianni was still waiting for him to go back. There had to be a first-come, first-served rule, so as not to hurt the heart of a woman who worked hard. After driving back to the western suburbs villas, Yang Qing didn't go directly to Emo Qianni's house. Instead, he went to his original home and wanted to see if Lin Ruoxi was there. Yang Qing knew that at this stage, it was simply a dream to find a woman by phone. It was more practical to directly knock on the door to find someone. Mother Wang was also depressed because of Yang Qing and his wife. It was reasonable to say that her own daughter had also become Yang Qing's confidant. If Yang Qing really wanted to divorce, it would only be good for Xiao Qiqing. However, Mother Wang, after all, watched Lin Ruoxi grow up. She almost regarded her own daughter as her own daughter. How could she accept such a reality? Mother Wang, who was busy in the kitchen, saw Yang Qing suddenly come in. She was shocked at first, then with tears in her eyes, she went forward and asked sadly, "Young master, how are you and Miss? I heard from Miss that Lon Lon was born by you with another woman. Is this all true?" Yang Qing didn't expect Lin Ruoxi to tell Mother Wang everything. Naturally, he wouldn't deny it. "Yes, Mother Wang, I'm sorry to make you worry. Is Ruoxi not at home? She left early in the morning. She said that she wanted to look after a few pieces of land and brought a few major shareholders of the company to other provinces to investigate. I don't know how many days she'll be gone. Mother Wang of the company lamented, she's clearly hiding from me. Yang Qing didn't expect this woman to be so ruthless that she wouldn't even let him see her. Although he could still find her if he wanted to, there was no point in forcefully dragging her away. He didn't just carry his own dignity on his shoulders, but there were also tens of thousands of people who followed him and looked up to him. He had to be responsible for those people of his. He wasn't just carrying his own dignity on his shoulders. There were also tens of thousands of people who followed him and looked up to him. He had to be responsible for their belief. Young master, why don't you go find her and apologize to her? She loves Lanlan very much. This shouldn't be a reason for them to separate. How can a good marriage be broken just like that? Wang Ma advised. Yang Qing shook his head and said, this is not caused by one or two things. This is a problem of attitude and principles. If you can't accept it, then everything will be in vain. Mother Wang was sad and didn't know what to say. Yang Qing forced a smile and asked, Mother Wang, you can't cook those dishes alone. What's the matter? Will Qing accompany you for dinner tonight? Speaking of her daughter, Mother Wang smiled. Yes. Although this child had a hard time in the past, she is very kind and filial. As long as she is not busy in university, she will come to accompany me. Mother Wang, why don't you bring the food to Qianni's house and ask Qinger to come as well? I haven't seen her for a while, and I have something to discuss with her. Yang Qing estimated that Jane would arrive in Zhonghai the next day. Xiao Qiqing was not clear about his situation yet, so he had to inform her in advance. Mother Wang heard this and thought that Yang Qing wanted to be intimate with Xiao Qiqing. She couldn't help but feel happy and resentful at the same time. She was happy that Yang Qing was still thinking about her daughter in this situation and didn't have the slightest scruple. She hated that this man was too sentimental and still had the mood to take care of other women in this situation. In the evening, at the edge of the river intersection in Hanzhong City of Hu Province, there was a rather dignified villa with more than 100 years of history built in a forest next to the surging river. The road paved with blue stone slowly climbed up from the foot of the mountain. The villa covered an area of more than 30 acres and was decorated with lanterns and streamers in a festive atmosphere. However, even at such a time, there were many men in black suits patrolling along every road. Their bulging waists were obviously equipped with weapons. Outside of the tallest 5-story building, the spacious parking lot was filled with all kinds of world-class luxury cars. Many of them even had military or government license plates, which was very eye-catching. In the central living room of this building, the crystal chandelier shone brightly, and the air was filled with the fragrance of wine. People were toasting each other, and a large number of well-dressed men and women were chatting and laughing hypocritically. It was just like a lively spring festival party. Among them was a beautiful woman, Zhang Ling, who was wearing a fiery red round neck dress and had her hair tied up in a bun. She was obviously a beautiful flower among women. The middle-aged man that Zhang Ling was holding looked to be in his 40s or 50s. He was tall and strong, gentle and had the charm of a mature middle-aged man. He was her husband, Meng Qin. Meng Qin raised a glass of red wine and clinked it with a big-bellied bald man in a suit. He smiled and said, "Brother Liu, long time no see. I heard that the Tibetan handicraft manufacturer you bought in the second half of the year sold very well in Central Asia and North America. You must have made a lot of money." The merchant surnamed Liu laughed and said, "Director Meng is making fun of me again. It's all thanks to the Meng family's righteousness that they helped me get a seat in the CPPCC. Otherwise, it would be difficult for me to even go abroad. As soon as old man Meng sent out the invitation, I flew back from New York as soon as possible. I also want to attend this South China Gang gathering. It's only right. Brother Lu is an entrepreneur who has made outstanding contributions to the development of the Northwest. We have always supported a doer like you. Meng Qin smiled and said, Where? Oh, right, I heard that Director Meng is going to the Provincial Standing Committee this year? Which position is it? When the time comes, I, Lu, will be the first to congratulate you. Boss Lu asked with a meaningful smile. Meng Qin said in a reserved manner, It hasn't been decided yet. The responsibilities that the old man has assigned are very heavy. I don't have the strength to do it. Director Meng is too humble. Chief Meng has great foresight. Your brother is now the indispensable second leader of the South China Gang, and you are about to sell yourself to the ministerial ranks at such a young age. I'm afraid that in a few years, I'll have to go to Beijing to see you. Boss Lu chuckled. A trace of undetectable disdain flashed across Meng Qin's eyes, but he quickly smiled and started talking about other things with Boss Lu. Zhang Ling, who was listening to these words, had a charming smile on her face, but her eyes were filled with boredom and dullness. Only by living beside this group of decadent men since she was young could a woman like her understand how ugly and dirty the transactions were behind all this glamour. At this moment, Zhang Ling heard the phone in her bag ring. She smiled at Boss Lu apologetically, nodded at Meng Qin, and walked to a corner to pick up the phone. She was too lazy to see who was calling. Even if it was a mistake, at least she wouldn't have to listen to these people who had calluses in their ears. After looking at the phone, Zhang Ling found that it was from Zhonghai. She frowned slightly and picked it up. On the other end of the phone, it was Jiang Xiaobai, who had a headache for a long time before he made up his mind to smooth things over. Ms. Zhang Ling, I'm Jiang Xiaobai, the Deputy Director of the Zhonghai West City Police Station. I want to tell you about Miss Li. When Zhang Ling heard this, she sneered calmly. Deputy Director? Wasn't it the Director Zhao Baogua who contacted me? You mean that bitch? Why, she wasn't put in the labor camp to be crippled, right? Director Zhao is ill. I'm currently in charge of this matter. Jiang Xiaobai did not mention that Zhao Baogua was too scared to make a phone call. Ms. Zhang, I hope you can be mentally prepared for this matter. Maybe you should report it to your husband, Director Meng, or even other people in the Meng family. Zhang Ling felt extremely ridiculous. Are you kidding me? I want to pinch a bug to death. Do I need to let the Meng family know? Do you not want to be the deputy director anymore? Jiang Xiaobai's face turned ugly on the phone, but he still said calmly, Ms. Zhang, it's like this. Miss Li Jingjing has been taken away by her boyfriend, and her boyfriend, Mr. Yang Qing, is slowly. Jiang Xiaobai briefly explained the origin of Yang Qing and his relationship with Li Jingjing. What did you say? That bitch is the woman of that madman in the Yang family? Even if Zhang Ling didn't care about those family and state affairs, she still knew the protagonist of the Liang family's destruction. In the corner of the conference hall, Zhang Ling's face also turned pale, cold sweat oozed from her forehead, and the hand holding the phone trembled a little. Chapter 1375. Although she was rampant and ruthless, she also knew that there were some things that would provoke her. It was just that this time, she really didn't expect that the little staff member she wanted to teach a lesson would be the woman of the young master of the Yang family in Yanjing. In fact, if she had revealed to Meng Zhixin in advance that she wanted to fix Li Jingjing, Meng Zhixin, who knew the background of Yang Qing, would definitely stop her. Unfortunately, Zhang Ling did it too secretly. After trying to calm down, Zhang Ling whispered, Since that Yang Qing has taken Li Jingjing away, it means that bitch is fine. This matter should be over. Jiang Xiaobai laughed in his heart. This woman was not too stupid. She knew the seriousness of the situation. Ms. Zhang, Mr. Yang didn't mean to give up. He said, If you don't take Deputy Bureau Chief Meng to his home tomorrow and kowtow to Miss Li to apologize, then he will. When Zhang Ling heard this, her eyes were already full of fire, and she said in a gloomy voice, Tell me, what will he do? He will burn down the Meng family. Zhang Ling was taken aback at first, and then she almost couldn't help laughing out loud. Is there something wrong with his brain? Or is there something wrong with him? Did you tell him about our Meng family and the background of the Huanan gang? Zhang Ling felt that Yang Qing was a fool at this moment. Jiang Xiaobai actually also felt that Yang Qing was too good at bragging. He really could say anything he wanted, but he still said seriously, "I have already said it, but Mr. Yang insisted on saying so I can only convey it truthfully. Ms. Zhang, I think he is also angry. Why don't you turn hostility into friendship? I will take the lead to talk to Mr. Yang, and after both of us calm down, we can meet and reconcile. How about it? Do you think it's possible?" I'm not really afraid of him. When the elders of his family tell him what kind of family the Meng family, he said, he wanted to burn down, he naturally won't dare. Zhang Ling said proudly, "It's New Year, at most, I will give him a few red envelopes. Isn't it just the Yang family in Yanjing? Liang Xingchuan of the Liang family is going to rebel. No one can tolerate him. Our Meng family is law-abiding and spends a lot of money for the country every year. What can he do to us?" Jiang Xiaobai also knew that the Liang family could not be compared with the Meng family. After all, their nature was different from Go Qingren. He just wanted to prevent the conflict from breaking out as much as possible, at least until the higher-ups gave the order. Zhang Ling's words were also very clear. If Yang Qing was willing to accept the gift, she would send someone to give him a considerable amount. If he didn't accept it, then she wasn't afraid. She didn't believe that Yang Qing would dare to touch her. Zhang Ling was not stupid. She knew that if she repeated what Yang Qing said, even if the elders of the Meng family blamed her, they would still protect her face. Of course, Zhang Ling wasn't smart enough to know all of Yang Qing's background. She was just thinking subjectively. After Jiang Xiaobai finished the call, he hesitated to explain to Yang Qing. At this moment, his personal cell phone rang. Jiang Xiaobai saw that it was Li Dun calling. He couldn't help but carefully confirm that there was no one outside the office before picking it up. "Deputy Minister, is there an order?" Li Dun pretended to cough twice before saying, "My old man said, don't take sides, but don't provoke either side. If something happens, don't hold back. Just mobilize the local armed police and special personnel to protect the people's property and personal safety as soon as possible. Don't make it big, don't involve any innocent people." Jiang Xiaobai's brain had short-circuited a little. He asked, "Does it mean to touch the Meng family?" **T. The chief asked you to wait and see. What does it mean to touch the Meng family? Jiang Xiaobai wanted to cry but had no tears. He didn't know how to carry out such an ambiguous order. If he did this, wouldn't it be tantamount to offending both sides? Wouldn't it be a thankless effort? But the military order was like a mountain, so he had to do it and respectfully agreed. After that, Jiang Xiaobai sorted out his thoughts before calling Yang Qing. In Emo Qianni's house, Mother Wang and Xiao Qiqing, mother and daughter, had also arrived. Xiao Qiqing heard that Lanlan was back, and she even bought a PS3 directly from outside, brought it back, installed it for Lanlan, and started playing games. It was the first time for Lanlan to come into contact with this kind of game console. Looking at the dazzling picture, her eyes widened and she was very interested. Perhaps it was because she was obsessed with all kinds of computer knowledge. Even Xiao Qiqing, who was very good at playing games, immediately had a common hobby with the chubby little girl. Lanlan's learning ability was very strong. As long as Xiao Qiqing said it once, she could remember it immediately. Soon, the two began to play fighting games, shouting constantly while fighting. Yang Qing found that people like him, who only knew how to play computer games, seemed to be a little out of touch with the times, but he was not interested in learning from women as he felt that it was more shameful. However, seeing that Xiao Qiqing was having a good time with Lanlan, Yang Qing was relieved. He thought that Lan Lan would be depressed and cry because of Lin Ruoshi's departure, but with a woman like Xiao Qiqing who could play with children, it seemed that it would be easier to take care of the children. Mother Wang was not surprised that her daughter liked to play games. She smiled a little helplessly. She didn't have that hobby. She wanted to help Mo Qianni with some kitchen work, but Mo Qianni was very agile. Even Minwan didn't have much time to help. She cooked quickly and excellently, which made Mother Wang a little amazed. Looking at the way she did housework, she felt that Mo Qianni was indeed a natural wife and mother. No wonder Lin Ruoshi felt pressured to learn to cook. However, many things actually depended on talent. Lin Ruoshi was good at doing business, but she was not good at doing housework. She always felt that something was missing. At night, Mo Qianni had already made a large table of food. Not only was it sumptuous, but the fragrance was also overflowing, making people salivate. The chubby little girl couldn't wait to sit down and gnaw on a spring roll in each hand. Yang Lanlan, what did the kindergarten teacher teach you? Don't you know to wash your hands before eating? You just finished playing games and just use your hands. Xiao Qiqing pretentiously lectured. Although Lan Lan was more afraid of her mother, Lin Ruoshi, she wasn't afraid of any of the other aunts. She argued with a sweet voice, Lan Lan is very strong. I won't get a stomachache. How can a girl say that she is strong? Xiao Qiqing chuckled and turned to ask Yang Qing, honey, do you want to drink something? I know that Sister Qianni has authentic wine from Chateau Margaux. As one of the top 5 wineries in the Bordeaux region of France, Chateau Margaux's wine was gentle, delicate, elegant, and pleasant. It was a rare treasure. Yang Qing naturally had no objection and nodded in agreement. In fact, he hadn't had a good drink for a long time. Xiao Qiqing suddenly jumped up happily and triumphantly ran to Mo Qianni's side. Sister Qianni, did you hear that? Honey wants to drink too. I'll go get it now. Mo Qianni smiled helplessly and pretended to complain to Yang Qing. Qinger has been thinking about that box of wine for a while. I said that it's a treasured collection that a college classmate of mine brought back from abroad. It's a 15-year-old Chateau Margaux. I don't let her drink it casually. She's using you to force me to give in. Yang Qing couldn't help but laugh. Isn't it just a 15-year-old Chateau Margaux? I have better ones in my castle. I can let you bathe in wine some other day. Mo Qianni's eyes lit up. She really wanted to go to Yang Qing's Mediterranean home, but she had been too busy. That's what you said, honey. I'll arrange a job some other day. You have to take me there. Yang Qing actually wanted to go back to the Forgotten Kingdom. Perhaps it would be safer for him to go abroad now that he couldn't use his cultivation. However, he didn't want to leave until Lin Ruoshi's matter was settled. Soon, Xiao Qiqing came out with 3 bottles of aged wine worth tens of thousands. She happily poured the wine into the decanter and poured it for everyone. As a woman who used to be a swindler in the United States, she was familiar with all kinds of luxury goods in the world. Xiao Qiqing naturally knew how to taste good wine. There were wine and delicacies, as well as women and children who enlivened the atmosphere. Yang Qing felt that this dinner was much happier than yesterday's New Year's Eve dinner. For a while, those melancholy had also disappeared a lot. Just when Yang Qing took 2 sips of the mellow wine and felt elated, Jiang Xiaobai called. Yang Qing picked up and asked, "What's wrong? Is that crazy woman going to bring that gigolo to kowtow?" Jiang Xiaobai smiled embarrassedly at Shanshan and said, "Mr. Yang, Ms. Zhang Ling said that she is willing to compensate you and Miss Li with a certain amount of betrothal gifts, or send red envelopes for the auspicious new year. As for kowtowing, the people of the Meng family can't do it." Chapter 1376. In other words, I don't dare to set a fire at all, right? Yang Qing grinned coldly. If it was purely a fight, straightening his back and refusing to give in, then Yang Qing would think highly of the other party, but Zhang Ling actually planned to use a few red packets to send him away. Yang Qing suddenly felt that this was a disdainful humiliation. Since she knew part of his background, she should know that he would not be short of money. Why would he want her red packet? Because at the dinner table, Yang Qing did not avoid the women present at all, so this set of fire caused Xiao Qiqing and Emotiani to look over. Yang Qing did not treat them as outsiders, so he naturally said everything openly. He had already killed people, so what was the point of setting a fire? Jiang Xiaobai smiled awkwardly and said, I don't know about that. After all, I am a person of the country. From my standpoint, I don't want your two families to have any unhappiness. Although I also know that I can't stop Mr. Yang with my strength, I hope that Mr. Yang cannot involve the innocent. Arson is still inappropriate. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll hang up. Yang Qing actually didn't mean to ask at all and directly hung up the phone. Seizing the opportunity, Emo Qianni asked with concern, Hubby, did something big happen? Yang Qing did not hide anything and told them about how Li Jingjing was treated. When the whole story was told, it immediately made the women indignant. Although they were suspected of being rivals in love, they were still on the same side after all. Moreover, Zhang Ling's actions were too hateful. Hubby, are you going to burn down the Meng family's courtyard? Do you want me to help you? Xiao Qiqing suddenly smiled slyly. Yang Qing was stunned and said with a wry smile, Qing don't tease me. You can't cultivate, so you can't help much even if you go with me to set a fire. I'm not going to help you set a fire. You don't know where the Meng family's courtyard is. I can help you hack into the databases of all parties and find the various properties of the Meng family. A gang-like family like this always has the most symbolic old house. Xiao Qiqing said. Yang Qing was still thinking about how to get the information of the Meng family. He forgot that there was a computer expert beside him. He couldn't help but be overjoyed. He looked at Xiao Qiqing, and a strange evil thought burst out. Wang Ma coughed a couple of times and frowned. Qing you should persuade the son-in-law not to set the fire. How can he be so rowdy? Mom, you don't know. You can't persuade him. If I marry a chicken, follow the chicken. If I marry a dog, follow the dog. Of course, I will follow the man I love. Xiao Qiqing indifferently said. She doesn't care what kind of power the Meng family is. She is not afraid of death, so why would she care about being an accomplice of arson? Yang Qing felt that Xiao Qiqing's words were very much to his liking. If every woman was so obedient, he would be much more relaxed. After dinner, they watched TV for a while. Mother Wang tidied up and went back to sleep. Xiao Qiqing promised Yang Qing to check the information of the Meng family and said that she will go back later. Lan Lan, because she was full, went upstairs to take a bath and go to sleep. With Minwan taking care of her, Yang Qing didn't have to worry. Emo Qianni arranged for Yang Qing to sleep in the former Qiangwei's bedroom, which has all kinds of electronic equipment. Xiao Qiqing doesn't need to take her laptop. In the dead of night, there were only a few lights left in the western suburb's courtyard. In the bedroom, there was still a faint body fragrance of Qiangwei. Yang Qing sat on the big bed, watching the woman in front of the computer. Her fingers quickly tapped on the keyboard, entering a command that he didn't understand. Gradually, the website of some state departments appeared. Xiao Qiqing obviously did this a lot. She was very familiar with it. It didn't take long for her to find a detailed report on the assets of the Meng family. The State Security Department naturally needs to investigate the general situation of the Meng family. Therefore, the Meng family's property directory is also a big focus. Husband, this Meng family is really not an ordinary family. You see, this whole page is densely packed with their strongholds. Some of them are well-known five-star hotels and resort. Xiao Qiqing said. Yang Qing frowned and looked at it a few times. Just look for the Meng family's ancestral house. Where is it? Xiao Qiqing searched for a while and pointed to a courtyard called Meng Family Temple and said, It is in the old city of Hanzhong City. Although it is not very prosperous, the houses are very dense. It seems that the surrounding area is not open to tourists. It is hidden very deep. It is difficult to burn it without anyone knowing. I guess before the fire can be released, it will be extinguished. Yang Qing curled his lips. Xiao Qiqing blinked her eyes in confusion. How can that be? Husband, as long as you release the Nanmingli fire, even if they want to extinguish it, they can't. That is a heavenly fire. After burning the Meng family's ancestral house, we can use Kuei water to extinguish it. Yang Qing scratched his head in distress. Qing, I asked you to come today because there is something I want to tell you. I can't use any of my cultivation right now. Yang Qing was somewhat helpless. Xiao Qiqing was surprised at first and then saw that Yang Qing didn't seem to be joking. She worriedly asked, How? How can this be? Yang Qing then briefly told his experience and the current situation to the woman. Jane will come to Zhonghai tomorrow. She hopes to ask you some useful information. I don't want others to know about this immediately. I can only ask you and Jane to help me think of a way. Yang Qing said. Xiao Qiqing walked to Yang Qing's side and sat down. She hugged Yang Qing's neck and kissed the man's face. Husband, don't worry. According to what you said, you just need a decisive force to break the balance. Although chaos is the most special ancient ferocious beast with the combination of yin and yang and the 5 elements in chaos, it should be invincible. However, because of its ferocity, its beast soul is filled with violent qi, which goes against the natural order. As long as we can find a spirit treasure or skill that is stable and peaceful enough, we might be able to suppress it. I don't have absolute confidence, but I can think of a way with Jane. We are invincible in this world. Although he knew that the woman was comforting him, it was not easy to find a spirit treasure that could compete with the violent qi of chaos, but Yang Qing still had a lot of hope. Hugging the woman's soft body in his arms, Yang Qing patted Xiao Qiqing's fragrant shoulder and said with a smile, Darling Qing, aren't you afraid that your man can't use his cultivation now and can't protect you? Why would I? Without you, I would have died in a foreign land because of the cold poison. Husband, you have done enough for me. I want to do something for you too. Xiao Qiqing said softly. Really? Why do I feel that your tone is like when you were in America? Yang Qing laughed strangely. However, Xiao Qiqing took it seriously and said anxiously, I'm not lying to you. I don't do that kind of thing anymore. Although I have been a liar, I will not lie to the person I love. Then what do I want you to do for me now? Are you willing? What is it? Hubby, tell me. Xiao Qiqing asked seriously. Yang Qing pretended to be methodical as he moved closer to Xiao Qiqing's ear and whispered a few words. When Xiao Qiqing heard the man's shameless request, her beautiful face immediately blushed. She rolled her eyes at the man and knew that the man was teasing her just now. What, darling Qing heir, you don't dare. Yang Qing smiled evilly. Xiao Qiqing didn't answer. Instead, she silently bent down and quietly extended her hand between Yang Qing's legs. After lightly feeling the bulging peaks, she slowly pulled down the zipper of his crotch. When Yang Qing saw this, he couldn't help but laugh. Qing heir, I'm just joking with you. I'm not forcing you to do this for me. Xiao Qiqing raised her head and said coquettishly, It's too late, I want to bite this bad guy apart. After saying that, the woman lowered her head, stroked her hair, and began to display her inexperienced and immature tongue skills. Of course, Xiao Qiqing was joking. She couldn't bear to hurt this big guy that she loved and hated. Yang Qing felt that his lower part was wrapped by a warm, moist, tender and smooth mass. However, because his capital was too strong, and Xiao Qiqing was a typical delicate beauty, he really couldn't do any in-depth skills. He could only rely on the scenes in the movies that women knew about to carry out basic imitations. But even so, Yang Qing was still quite satisfied. He raised his head and let out a comfortable sigh. He had many women, but because of his family upbringing and identity, it was rare for them to let go when they were truly in love. In addition, Yang Qing also doted on these female confidantes, so he didn't dare to do a lot of fancy work. Sometimes, he felt that it was a pity. Gradually, one of Yang Qing's big hands supported the back of Xiao Qiqing's head. He subconsciously wanted to push into the woman's warm depths. Chapter 1377. After Xiao Qiqing realized something, she could only helplessly open her pink lips and open her mouth as wide as possible, barely preventing her silver teeth from grabbing onto that bad thing. This feeling of being domineeringly controlled by a man made Xiao Qiqing feel shy and happy at the same time. This was probably the magic of love. If it was a man that she didn't love enough who did this kind of thing, she would definitely gnash her teeth in hatred. But at this moment, Xiao Qiqing actually had a strange feeling of being bullied by a man. This made her extremely bashful. The feeling of fullness occupied every inch of the woman's sweetness, making Yang Qing feel more and more comfortable. On the other hand, Xiao Qiqing couldn't help but let out a soft moan that was weak and soft. Just when the two of them were somewhat immersed in the pleasure, someone knocked on the door of the bedroom from the outside. Yang Qing was startled. Because he was relaxed and his divine sense was no longer present, he actually didn't notice that someone was approaching. "Hubby, Qinger has left." The woman who came was naturally Emotieni. She originally came over to confirm whether Xiao Qiqing had left after taking a shower so that she could go down to lock the door. However, the moment the woman opened the door without thinking much, the scene that greeted her eyes caused her cheeks to blush. Before she could finish her words, she froze on the spot. Yang Qing looked at Emotieni awkwardly. Below, Xiao Qiqing, who was still pouncing on Yang Qing's legs with her mouth full, wished that she could faint from the lack of oxygen. "I seem to have come at the wrong time." Emotieni's heart was beating rapidly. She also couldn't remember if she had done this kind of thing for Yang Qing. The two of them had been together for quite some time and had made love many times. Sometimes they would completely forget themselves. Perhaps they had indeed done this kind of thing before, but it definitely wouldn't be many times. Emotieni tried her best to pretend that she didn't look at Xiao Qiqing, but she still couldn't help but glance a few more times before turning around to close the door. "Little Qianqian, why are you running?" After coming back to his senses, Yang Qing sized up the woman's amorous purple lace semi-transparent nightgown and said with a smirk, "Isn't today just right? You still think that I've been bullying you for too long. Today you can be much more relaxed if you're with Qinger." When Emotieni and Xiao Qiqing heard this, they realized that this bad guy wanted them to sleep with him. Emotieni had slept with Qiangwei before, so she didn't have much resistance. However, it was Xiao Qiqing's first time on the bridal sedan chair, and her heart almost jumped out. "Don't even think about escaping. Look at how obedient Qing is. If you dare to escape, I'll go to your room and carry you over." Yang Qing didn't give the woman a way out at all. Emotieni thought to herself, "Could it be that I'm afraid of you?" She locked the door with a red face and heartbeat. Since there won't be any thieves coming, she might as well ignore it. With light steps, she arrived at the bedside and teasingly looked at Xiao Qiqing. She teased, "Qing, it's been hard on you. You're drooling on the bed." Xiao Qiqing flew into a rage out of humiliation. She suddenly raised her head and wiped her wet red lip. She panted and said, "Then why don't you teach me, Sister Qianni?" "Oh, that's a good suggestion. I think you guys should come together." As Yang Qing spoke, he pulled Emotieni to his side with one hand and hugged the woman's soft waist. He giggled and said, "Little Qianqian, Qing is still waiting to see your demonstration." Emotieni lowered her eyes and looked at the valiant and spirited big fellow. Her face flushed red and she rolled her eyes at Yang Qing. "You're lucky." After she finished speaking, she bent down just like Xiao Qiqing. The two women were not cowards. Very soon, they began to exert their strength together. When the two tender tongues began to serve Yang Qing, the latter naturally felt as if he was about to ascend to heaven. Xiao Qiqing became bolder and bolder. In order to not lose to Emotieni, she even used her hands and gently rubbed two key areas. Occasionally, she would even use her pearly white teeth to nibble. Hiss, Yang Qing sucked in a breath of cold air. It was too comfortable. Suddenly, he felt a little embarrassed and thought that he actually could not resist the temptation. How could he bear to give up such a blissful life, where he could enjoy the blissful life of having two women to guard an ice lotus alone? Women were usually selfish when it came to their feelings, and men were also selfish when it came to their enjoyment of the body. One might seem noble while the other was vulgar, but in truth, neither of them were good people. That night, Yang Chun plowed the two women's bodies to his heart's content. It was only after midnight that he took a hot shower. Hugging the two beauties whose bodies were already limp, he fell asleep soundly. The next morning, Yang Cheng went to the airport with Xiao Qiqing and picked up Jane, who came with light luggage. Previously, Xiao Qiqing had established a good friendship with Jane. Now that Jane had officially established a relationship with Yang Cheng, they were naturally very close. The two of them talked and laughed sometimes in Mandarin and sometimes in English. When Jane came to Zhonghai, Yang Qing planned to let her live with Xiao Qiqing. It was not that Yang Qing had some evil thoughts and wanted to sleep together. After all, Jane had not even reached the innate stage, and Yang Qing did not want to break her innate element. It was just that Xiao Qiqing often went to Zhonghai University, and Jane's laboratory was also there. It was convenient for the two women to live together. After settling Jane down, this tireless woman immediately proposed to go to Zhonghai University with Xiao Qiqing. She was still used to thinking and communicating in the laboratory. After saving for half a lifetime, Mother Wang, who had money but nowhere to spend it, had already bought a red BMW 760 for her daughter. It could be said that she spoiled her daughter to the extreme, spending more than 2 million without hesitation. Therefore, Xiao Qiqing readily drove Jane to the university. After finishing these, Yang Qing immediately ran to his original home anxiously, wanting to see if Lin Ruoshi had returned. However, Yang Qing was still disappointed to find that only Mother Wang was at home. Lin Ruoshi was still in another place for investigation, and he did not know how long she would be gone. Shaking his head dejectedly, Yang Qing knew that he had other things to do, so he did not think too much and drove to the seaside. The person Yang Qing found was none other than Lu Mingyu's father, Lu Qingshan, his father-in-law. Because Lu Qingshan's ancestral home was in Zhonghai, but he later moved to Yanjing, now that he was old, he naturally wanted to return to his root. Therefore, during the Chinese New Year, he also visited some relatives and friends near Zhonghai. In addition, his woman in Yanjing, Su Ying, was already dead. Lu Qingshan and Lu Mingyu's mother were now husband and wife from a young age, so they were particularly well behaved. When he arrived at the seascape villa, Lu Qingshan was holding a newspaper and reading the news, while Lu Qingshan's mother was peeling oranges and watching soap operas on the TV. Seeing Yang Qing come in, the couple was not surprised because Yang Qing had already made a phone call. Lu Qingshan's mother was so happy that she wanted to make some sugar water for Yang Qing. This was a custom after all. Yang Qing said a few auspicious words, drank a bowl of sugar water, and sat down on the sofa. "Humph, you came to your father-in-law's house during Chinese New Year, and you didn't even bring any gifts. You're such an arrogant son-in-law. People from rich families are indeed different." Lu Qingshan was a little unhappy. After all, this was a form of respect for him. We don't lack anything at home. Your subordinates gave us a lot of things, why did you ask Yang Qing to give us anything?" Lu Qingshan's mother tried to mediate on the side. Yang Qing chuckled, looked around and asked, "Where's Mingyu? Why isn't she here?" "It's all because of your legal wife, Chairman Lin. She's so busy even during Chinese New Year, bringing a group out for an inspection. Mingyu can only do some things in the company, so she has to work these 2 days," Lu Qingshan said in disdain. Yang Qing nodded unnaturally. He wondered if Lu Mingyu understood the situation and if she would feel awkward when she saw Lin Ruoshi in the future. What are you spacing out for? You called us early in the morning and asked us to wait at home. Are you saying that I'm here to see you spacing out? Lu Qingshan frowned and asked. Yang Qing shrugged. It's Chinese New Year. Of course I have to come and give a gift. What gift? Lu Qingshan asked curiously. Yang Qin smiled faintly and enunciated each word clearly, Hua Nan Bang. The newspaper in Lu Qingshan's hand trembled slightly. Although it was very subtle, Yang Qing still noticed it. The man in his 50s raised his head. His slightly wrinkled face still had a charming demeanor. He looked at Yang Qing with a deep gaze, and there was a hint of doubt in his complicated eyes. Are you sure you're not joking? Yang Qing shook his head and said, I don't need to drag my father-in-law and mother-in-law back to my hometown for a joke. Lu Qingshan coughed twice and looked at Lu Qingshan's mother, who was puzzled. Lu Qingshan's mother was a little unhappy, but it was not the first time she saw this kind of look from her husband. She knew that he was talking about something that he didn't want her to touch, so she got up and went to the second floor. After his wife left, Lu Qingshan said in a deep and serious voice, You brat, don't tell me that you think you can step on whoever you want just because you are the young master of the Yang family. The Meng family is not playing house. Chapter 1378. Are you afraid? Yang Qing asked calmly. Lu Qingshan narrowed his eyes. Your provocation doesn't work on me. I only believe in what I know. If you have a good understanding of the Meng family and the South China Gang, you should know that they are not on the same level as us. My Azure Dragon Gang is able to unify the underground in Yanjing because the country temporarily needs us to maintain order. The Red Thorns Gang in Zhonghai also has the same reason. I believe you also understand. On the basis of what we already have, we nibbled away at those forces in Su Province and Jiang Province within the red line drawn by the country. We can't just randomly expand. But the South China Gang is different. They are the local tyrants. They don't rely on the country to throw them a piece of meat to survive, but they rely on the steel knife in their hands to cut off a piece of territory, confronting the country until now, forming a delicate situation. Rather than saying they are a gang, they are more like an alliance of interests with a background. Yang Qing reached out and took a half-eaten orange from the coffee table, peeled it and sent it into his mouth. Father-in-law, you also know that I have always minded my own business. If they didn't provoke me first, I still wouldn't know who they are. It's just that this time, someone already didn't give me face. I'm not a person who is afraid of trouble. If the words that come out of my mouth are treated as farts, then it would be too embarrassing. Why would the Meng family be related to you for no reason? Lu Qingshan was puzzled. Yang Qing briefly explained the ins and outs of the matter. If it was you, during Chinese New Year, your woman's car was smashed for no reason, and she was even sent to the labor camp, would you be able to tolerate it? Lu Qingshan lightly snorted, as if he was disdainful of Yang Qing doing these things for other women, but he didn't deny it. As a person in the underworld, this kind of anger was hard to swallow. But you don't have to go against the entire Huanan gang, right? Isn't she just a shrew? Lu Qingshan said, If there's someone responsible for every wrong, then you're a real man. If you let those gang members who don't even know who you are suffer because of her, you're going against the rules of the martial world. Yang Qing disagreed. He didn't care about morality, but Lu Qingshan reminded him that if he burned the Meng family's ancestral hall, it would not cause any substantial damage to Zhongling. Perhaps he should set his target on that woman. Father-in-law, I didn't come here today to ask you to be the cannon fodder for me. I can handle this myself. I was just thinking that the Huanan gang would definitely want their face. After all, Zhang Ling is the daughter-in-law of the Meng family. She suffered a lot, so it is normal for the Meng family to stand up for her. Otherwise, how can the Meng family survive? Therefore, when the time comes, I will destroy the Meng family. But once the Meng family is destroyed, the the Huanan gang will be like a group of dragons without a leader. This will affect the stability of the 4 provinces in the Central Plains, and I hope that it will be my own people who will settle this mess. As the saying goes, don't let fertile water flow to outsiders. Originally, the Red Thorn Society has a deeper relationship with me, but now that Xiangwei no longer cares, the Red Thorn Society is not as close to me as the Azure Dragon Gang. As Yang Qing said this with a smile, the cake that he opened was extremely tempting. Hua Xia would not allow Yang Qing to send his men into the country, deep into the Central Plains, and take control of the underground world controlled by the Huanan gang. Therefore, the country would only tolerate it if the local underground forces took over. And the Azure Dragon Gang was able to unify the underground world in Yanjing. There was no doubt that their style of doing things was in line with the appetite of the country's leaders. Then, there would be less resistance to take over the Huanan gang. But Lu Qingshan still felt that Yang Qing said it too lightly. "Kid, your tone is too big. You said to destroy it so easily. Do you think the Huanan gang is a cockroach that can be trampled to death at any time?" Yang Qing clicked his tongue. This father-in-law was really cautious. He waved his hand and said, "I already said that I just came to greet you. When the time comes, prepare to send people to take over. It's not like you need to send people to fight." Lu Qingshan could not help but laugh. "You came to tell me such a pie falling from the sky thing? This big red envelope for the Spring Festival is too big. I, Lu, have struggled for half of my life, but I have never eaten such a big meal. Of course, there are conditions. Today, I mainly want to use your Azure Dragon Gang's channel to help me get some contraband." Lu Qingshan's heart skipped a beat. He frowned and said, "You mean this guy? Hee, I can't just take a lighter and burn down the Meng family's house." Yang Qing touched his head, feeling a little embarrassed. In fact, Yang Qing could also ask Maekdan to send some to Hua Xia from abroad. However, Hua Xia's checks were too strict, and the one managing it was Kai Yunqing, one of his father-in-law. It would not be good to cause trouble for him. Therefore, Lu Qingshan, who had channels in the country, was the best choice. "Don't worry, father-in-law. You should know that I am not a fool. I will not do things that I am not sure of, and I will not bring any risks to you," Yang Qing said again. Lu Qingshan frowned. He stood up and paced for a while. He seemed to have a headache. He picked up a pack of red pandas on the coffee table and lit it for himself. He didn't smoke much at home, but because the matter brought by Yang Qing required too much brainpower, he couldn't make a decision for a while. If Yang Qing could really cripple the Meng family, then the Azure Dragon Gang would naturally become a dragon. But if Yang Qing didn't do a clean job, or failed at all, it was very likely that it would lead to crazy revenge. Not only did he have to think about his family, but he also had to think about thousands of brothers. At least, Lu Qingshan didn't have the slightest thought of touching the South China Gang's territory before. After finishing the cigarette, Lu Qingshan's eyes flickered as he asked, "This matter. Have you told the elders in your family?" Yang Qing shook his head and said without hesitation, "No need. No matter who opposes me, it's useless. There are some things that I have always read about." Lu Qingshan was stunned. This kid was too arrogant. In ancient times, he would either be a tyrant or a tyrant. In any case, he was not a good person. However, it was really to his liking. Thinking about it, Lu Qingshan couldn't help but laugh. After laughing dryly a few times, he said, "I can only provide you with a guy, but as for the specifics, you have to find someone yourself. I won't lend you a subordinate. If it's done, of course I'll be happy. If it's not done, don't blame me for being heartless. After all, I'm not the only one responsible." Yang Qing was just waiting for this sentence. What a joke. Even if he didn't have this guy, he wouldn't feel that it was too troublesome. As one of the main gods, even in Hua Xia's land, he couldn't even handle a gang. Wouldn't that be a joke? Tell me, what kind of guy do you want? There's nothing too high-end. After all, the country can't compare to foreign countries, but I can directly send it to any province or city. Lu Qingshan asked. Yang Qing thought for a moment, and the corner of his mouth revealed an evil smile. Half an hour later, after discussing all the matters, Yang Qing returned home from Lu Qingshan's place. When he entered the house, he could already smell the fragrance of lunch. Mo Qianni tried her best to arrange her work so that it could be controlled remotely. After 2 meetings, she returned home. To her, cooking for her beloved man was a more meaningful thing. What made Yang Qing a little surprised and happy was that the demoness Anxin, whom he hadn't seen for a while, was also there. She was sitting on the sofa with Lanlan playing PS3. She wore a light brown jacket with a red hip skirt and a purple scarf. She was youthful with a hint of charm. Even in the cold season, women were still very charming. However, when Anxin saw Yang Qing enter the door, she only glanced at him and vaguely called out "hubby," before immediately turning around and continuing to fight with Lanlan. Yang Qing had a conflicted expression. He actually couldn't resist the temptation of the game? Auntie Anxin is so stupid. Lanlan is going to win again. The chubby little girl pouted unhappily. The fighting character she controlled had already knocked down Anxin. As if feeling that the opponent was too weak, Lanlan arrogantly threw the remote control away. Wait for Auntie Jiqing to come before playing. Auntie Anxin is too stupid. Anxin put down the controller as if she felt that it was shameful to lose to a kindergarten girl. She argued, "That's because I don't play much. Lanlan just learned it yesterday." The chubby little girl pressed the woman with the rake again. Anxin was speechless. She ran to Yang Cheng's side and hugged Yang Cheng's waist. She said in a sweet voice, "Hubby, even Lanlan despises me. I'm so sad." Yang Qing knew that the woman was joking. When he was about to tease her, the chubby little girl suddenly jumped up from the sofa and threw herself at him. Yang Qing got rid of Anxin and went to catch his daughter. He knew that she would be fine if she fell, but he still felt distressed. "My little ancestor, how many times have I told you? If you can walk, don't jump. Do you think anyone can catch you?" Yang Qing said gloomily. Lanlan hugged Yang Cheng's neck and said in a sweet voice, "When I come back, I have to hug Lanlan first, then I can hug others." It seemed that his daughter knew how to be jealous. Yang Qing laughed and proudly raised his eyebrows at Anxin. "Baby Anxin, I don't think you can get along with children. Look at how much Lanlan likes me." Anxin gritted her teeth. How could they be the same even if they were biological father and daughter? She turned her beautiful eyes and smiled softly at Lanlan. "Little Lanlan, Auntie Anxin will take you to the amusement park in 2 days, okay?" When Lanlan heard this, she immediately broke away from Yang Qing and ran to Anxin. She hugged Anxin's slender legs and rubbed her chubby and tender face on the smooth legs. "Auntie Anxin is so nice.